Players altered their performance or took themselves out of games to make sure that those bets paid out. Players altered their performance or took themselves out of games to make sure that those bets paid out. One example occurred on March 23rd, 2023 in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics. Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash. As the NBA season tips off, his career is already benched, not for injury, but for integrity.
First of all, the number of sports cliches that were said earlier today, bravo to everybody involved.
Hey, it was a pretty good ending there, though. That line, it's not, he's being benched for not, what was the way she said it? Performance. I thought there was another I word in there that she used.
Or for injury.
Injury, that's what it was.
Bench not for injury, but for
that's
integrity.
That's some Bradford alliteration right there. So props to you.
If you missed it, big news today in the NBA and really sports at large. Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier have been arrested as part of a wide-ranging investigation that relates to illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by the mafia. This is all according to authorities announced earlier today. Now, all of these are allegations. These have not been proven in court. Billups and Rozier are among 34 total people that have been arrested, Alex, earlier today. This has been over years of investigation. I was a little surprised to see some of the names that were involved in this, because some of the people that are associated have not been in the NBA for quite some time now. So I was like, wow, how did they allegedly rig games or have this information that people are claiming? And I guess it's A, relationships, and B, these have dated back quite some time. Now, these allegations include Terry Rozier being the one that basically threw a prop bet, again, allegedly. And Chauncey Billups, according to these reports, was the one that was associated, allegedly, with the illegal rigged poker games that were backed by the mafia. So very different situations here. But yeah, it does feel very similar to that.
Chauncey, be careful with this, man.
This is the worst case scenario for professional sports and really for sports in general. The reason that we watch these games, the reason that we love these games is because it's not scripted. It's what I love about watching, like the NFL game tonight. I love the fact that I don't know what's going to happen. Heck, listen to our pick'em. You know, I don't know a damn thing about what's coming on Saturdays or Sundays as I sit in front of my television.
You'd never be found in this alleged allegations going on.
Man, I clearly don't have the information.
BK is not that type of insider.
No, I don't think so.
But that's what makes sports so great, is that we just don't know, man. Saturday afternoon, I'm going to be sitting in front of my TV. I don't know if Missouri's going to beat Vandy or not. No clue. I could see a huge upset on Saturday afternoon, the likes of which none of us could have ever seen coming. That's what makes it so great. The moment that you think that has changed, the moment that you think that some of these results may actually not be up in the air, they may be scripted prior to the start of the game, that's when everything changes for the way that we view sports leagues. That is when some of these conspiracy theories, tinfoil Ferrario over here, it's not so tinfoil anymore. And now you have to start wondering what's going on there. You see these pitches like we saw this year in Major League Baseball, where suddenly multiple pitchers on one team have allegedly been throwing balls on purpose because of prop bets that are associated with their names. Like, that stuff starts to get into the minds of the viewers that are at home, And that is when sports have a huge problem on their hands. So it's a massive story, a massive scandal, Alex, that's taking place right now. What was your reaction when you saw earlier today the news announced and what it means for you as a fan of watching sports?
I mean, first off, my initial reaction was, man, I can't believe this is actually happening, because I think a lot of people, when sports gambling got into the scene, it was like, conspiracy theorists would bring this up. But now when you see this happening, and I know some of this was going on with baseball as well this past season, I mean, it just brings skepticism into the minds of every sports fan, right? Like, it waters down the entertainment of the game that you're watching, because every little thing that happens. How long have we been living in a world where people look at the Kansas City Chiefs and say, the refs are paid by the Chiefs. That's why Patrick Mahomes is winning all these football games. That's why he keeps getting all this roughing the passer flags. And like, that's the type of stuff that now becomes a reality in every single conversation. So there's no more breaking down the game in terms of the X's and O's as much as it's, yeah, but was this part of the reason why? Or is this why we saw this go the direction it was? And I guess it's wild that it's happening in the NBA, but I guess on the other hand, it's not wild that it's happening in the NBA, because specifically, like, some of these players do have that control from all of these allegations that we're hearing of with the Rose, and talking about how it was like, oh, hey, you know, I might not be playing in the second half. That's the one that they have the control in.
Yeah.
What I don't understand, if you're a player,
why are you doing this? Rozier's made good money in his career, too.
He's on $100 million contract. Yeah. What are you doing, you dummy?
Aren't you? Like, you would imagine it's allegedly helping out your friends, helping out your buddies.
Why not just give them $10,000?
Well, that's his money, man.
Yeah, I don't get it. And this is me struggling to put myself into their shoes. I guess maybe it's just what you said, Alex. Like, hey, I can help you win 10 grand super easy. Because, like, there are limits placed on these things. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to place a big bet on a prop bet. It's really hard to do so, guys. And if you do and you win, do you know how quickly you get limited at most of these places? The moment that you win big on anything, you almost immediately, at a lot of places, get limited in what you're allowed to bet thereafter. So even if you do have this inside information, you have to have multiple accounts on multiple books. Like, it's hard to do what they are alleged to have done here. So I don't understand why you're giving up potentially. I mean, he's now done. He's never going to play basketball again, Terry Rozier. Yeah. If any of what he has alleged to have been done, it was true. And even if it isn't, like, this is going to take a while to go through this process. He's towards the end of his career anyways. Like, it's probably over.
The trust factor's gone for a player like that.
What is the point? It's so baffling to me.
I mean,
I don't get it.
Sometimes you have to wonder if the point is, well, I can get away with this. You know, I
guess, yeah.
Nobody's going to know that this is me. There's thousands of players in the NBA. There's thousands of players in this league that I play in. How are they going to know it's me? I mean, that's why allegedly most people try and get away with stuff, right? Any crime, it's like, well, how are they going to know? They're not going to find this one out. And you're seeing they'll find out.
Somebody on the text line said, guys, it's gambling. Sometimes gambling can be an addiction. If you could be talking about drugs or alcohol in the same breath, it could be something similar. That's, for some people, what gambling can be. Maybe, but that's not what this appears to be. According to the allegations, this is not like a guy had a crippling gambling addiction.
This isn't like Otani's translator who had a crippling gambling addiction.
Allegedly. This is a situation. Yeah, I know. Everything that we are saying here has been alleged. None of it has been proven in the court of law. That's all very important to make clear here. But this is a situation where, again, according to what has been reported, he's basically just trying to get his boys some money. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what this was for him. Now, for some others, and again, according to what had been alleged in that situation, Jonte Porter was basically the same thing, according to all of the reports of what is allegations against him, for effectively the same story here. I think it was basically the same thing for Emmanuel Clase and the allegations against
Ortiz
the
as well.
Guardians pitchers earlier this season. Why? Like, Emmanuel Clase, you're going to get a huge contract in Major League Baseball. What's the point of this? I don't get it. But if it is that tempting for athletes to be doing this, Alex, I think Adam Silver said something, I believe this was yesterday, ironically enough, given the timing of all of this. As Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was on with the Pat McAfee show, he said something that I personally agree with.
In the United States, it's unlikely to go away. I think probably there should be more regulation, frankly. It may be surprising to hear from me. I wish there was federal legislation rather than state by state. I think you got to monitor the amount of promotion, the amount of advertising around it. And also, we've pulled back. You know, it's not completely in our control, but we've asked some of our partners to pull back some of the prop bets, especially when they're on two-way players, guys who don't have the same stake in the competition, where, you know, it's too easy to manipulate something which seems otherwise small and inconsequential to the overall score. Maybe, you know, the couple rebounds that some player, you know, gets or whatever. So, you know, we're trying to put in place and learning as we go and working with the betting companies some additional controls to prevent sort of some of that manipulation.
I do think eventually we might have to get to a place, Alex, where the prop betting market is different than what it looks like today.
Yeah.
And maybe it is, hey, all you can do in the NBA is point totals. And it's only for 3 players per teams, and it's the guys that are like those superstars, right? Otherwise, you can bet sides and totals. You can bet who you think is going to win based upon the point spread, and you can bet on how many points will be scored overall in the game. You can't do the rebounds for the 6th man on the team, like that kind of stuff. Or will the next pitch be a strike? That kind of stuff. Or how many first pitch strikes will a player have? Those kinds of things are a little easier to get a situation like this involved with. I think that's probably going to have to be the next step if we continue seeing stuff like this. That being said, like, what bothers me most about this entire story, Alex, is that it's a years-long investigation that we're just learning about in 2025. Not because it shouldn't have taken that long, but because, like, my belief has always been the legalization of sports betting is better for everybody because we find out when this stuff happens. I think a lot of this stuff has been going on for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think now we're hearing about it because there are ways for the authorities to be alarmed by this. They can be alerted to what's going on because it's regulated. That's a good thing, right? We know about what's going on here because of the regulations that have been put into place. I don't love the fact that, like, the Terry Rozier stuff, what's been alleged, it's from 2023.
Yeah. And he got cleared by the NBA.
Yeah.
This is 2 years later that we're finally actually getting some sort of momentum on it. And the NBA, who had an investigation into it, said, we're all good here, nothing to see. Well, if you're that dead ass wrong, allegedly, about what happened with Rozier, what else is going on, man? That is the kind of thing that the league can't allow to have happen. And if it is happening, it means that more regulations probably have to be put into place.
Which goes back to the question you asked earlier of why would a guy like this do it? Well, because you could get away with it. Because the NBA can just say, it's like, no, we're good here, man. Nothing to see here. Let's move along. And you're falling between the cracks with all of this stuff. So, yeah, I mean, was it last year or 2 years ago with the Detroit Lions and Jamison Williams?
Well, that was different. That wasn't anything that was illegal. That was just he was allegedly betting on sports while inside of the locker room or at the facility.
But I'm only bringing that up because of the harsh penalty that they put down on him. And I think it was, 6 game suspension? If you're going to try and eliminate this without the regulation side of it, because that's going to be a whole different murky area that Adam Silver and everybody is probably trying to deal with, but you're going to have to come down with harsh penalties towards it to try and make it.
Agreed. The difference in this situation is that allegedly Terry Rozier was giving other people information about when he was going to be leaving the game. And so, like, bet my unders tonight. Again, that's what's been alleged here. What happened with I think that this also took place with wide receiver for the Titans. Why am I blanking on his name right now? Calvin Ridley and Jamison Williams. What they were alleged to have done was they just, under their own name, were betting on games And like, it wasn't even necessarily, I think for Jamison Williams, it was like a different sport
Yeah,
that he was betting on.
I think it was basketball.
Yeah. He was betting on different games while at the facility, and that is not allowed in the NFL. And so they were able to see, like, Jamison Williams, his name was on a FanDuel account, for example, and he's placed down a bet. Well, that can't happen here. They've got the location that's associated with it, all of those different things. So it's super easy to crack down on that. This is much more difficult.
Yeah.
Because it is bets that are not associated with that player's name. It's just a large quantity of money that's different than what you would typically get. That doesn't inherently mean, though, that it's wrong or that it is sketchy. It could just be, hey, man, guy wants to bet 25 grand on this dude to go over on his points today or to go under on his points today, whatever it may be. So that is a little tougher to crack down on.
I have no idea how you handle this then, other than the regulation side of it, to where you see the prop bets go away and it's just the over-unders. It's just, that's where you go with it.
Totals
Yeah, the point totals.
The sides.
Yeah.
And I
The
think
game
there are
itself.
ways to still include some of the prop bets. You don't have to eliminate all of them, but maybe they have to be more limited in scope.
I think
Maybe
Adam Silver's onto something there, because like Rozier at this point in his career is what? You know basketball, but I mean, he didn't even play last night, and it wasn't anything to do with the investigation. It was a coach's decision. Well, supposedly. But like at this point in his career, he's what, the 8th man off a bench, a backup point guard? Do you need to have over-unders on his point totals, assist totals, rebound totals on a player like that? I agree. The superstars, yeah, I could see why you could still do that, right? Because those are the guys that really pull you into the game, right? LeBron James, you're a LeBron fan. You're an Anthony Davis fan. You're a Luka fan. Maybe you keep the top 3 guys. Same for any sport that you look at. But I do think they are going to get to a point where they will have to regulate what you're able to do, especially when it comes to players that are in like Rozier's category in that point of their career.
He's Tanner Hendrickson. That's Alex Ferrario. I'm Brandon Kiley. If you guys missed any of the news today, it's being written about and bandied about all over the place right now. Interesting times in the world of sports. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll talk with Jeff Marek, one of our favorite guests, NHL analyst and insider for the Daily Faceoff. We'll talk to him about, yes, the Zack Bolduc trade. We also get his thoughts, 10,000-foot view on where the Blues are at today, kind of the national perspective on your St. Louis Blues. Jeff Marek joins us at 11:30. In the 12 o'clock hour, we'll be joined by Joey Vitale as well. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. You can always check us out on YouTube as well at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. Coming up next, Mizzou's game against Vanderbilt is the center of the college football universe this week. We'll get into some of what's being said nationally about it, and is this another game that's ultimately going to come down to which quarterback plays better? And if so, how does that fare for Mizzou? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. T-Bone, we're going to use some of these Josh Pate cuts here in this segment. I failed to put those in.
Why are you saying that out loud, man?
The rundown, that's on me, not on you. It's been a lot going on today during the show. Jeff Marek joining us in about 10 minutes here on BK and Ferrario. Alex, Mizzou versus Vandy is at the center of the college football universe this weekend. There's already a bunch of stuff on Twitter about how game day has been following around Diego Pavia on campus this week. Apparently, the Vanderbilt kickers have been taking students to practice the kicks so that way one of them can win the money for Pat McAfee's
That
kick
is
thing
hilarious.
on Saturday. So
Also, if I'm McAfee, take the money off the table. They're practicing beforehand.
they're really leaning into what this weekend can be in Nashville. And I think all of that is really cool. This is also a rare opportunity for both of these teams to have this kind of an opportunity. Vandy can get back-to-back top 15 wins at home. That almost never happens in the history of the program. In fact, my guess would be
It's never happened.
it's never happened. Mizzou has a chance to go on the road and beat a top 10 opponent this weekend. How many times do you guys think that Missouri has beaten a top 10 team on the road in the last 40 years?
Never.
I'm going to say
Top 10 team road
had to have done
win
it
in the
at
last
least
40 years.
Wasn't Kansas on the road and they won that game?
Neutral site. That was in Kansas City.
I'm going to say they've done it twice.
One time they beat Georgia
Dang it.
between the hedges in 2013, ultimately went on that year to win the SEC East. So huge opportunity this weekend for Mizzou to get a real signature victory. I know it doesn't feel that way because it's Vandy, but guys, we can't look at Vandy the way that we have in the past. This is a legit college football playoff contender this year. So Josh Pate does a bunch of good stuff on his YouTube show. And he was talking this week about how these teams are mirror images of one another. And I want you to take a listen, Alex, and we can talk on the other side about how this game is ultimately going to be decided if they are so similar.
Which side of the mirror wins this game? It is shocking how similar these teams' profiles look. They are run-first teams with quarterback mobility. They are very, very high third and fourth down conversion rate teams. They're both top 5 in the nation in those departments. They are more opportunistic than elite, I would say, defensively, but they're both top 10 in pressure rate without blitzing. They've both lost to Alabama, and that's it. And there's been some chatter around both head coaches for other jobs. How effective is the Missouri pass rush? Because if you can get Vandy in 3rd and 5+, and I have a suspicion they can do it because of who they faced all year, you give yourself a lot better chance to win. And Missouri, for all the hype Diego Pavia gets, and he should get every bit of it, they've faced some mobile guys at quarterback already. Ladies and gentlemen, we think the wrong team is favored. Well, the model thinks the wrong team is favored, and I'm taking Missouri to cover because if they win, then they have done that.
Now, why did BK pick this audio
no
clip?
kidding.
Because I think Josh Pate is really good at his job, first of all. And
Just
I think
the
what he's
music in
saying
the
is
background.
true. The more that I've looked into this game, and Alex, I'll have a column up on the Alton Telegraph's website later on today.
This is why you did it.
It's so hard to find an obvious advantage for either of these two teams. I think Missouri's defense is slightly better than Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's offense, specifically their quarterback, is slightly better than Missouri's. But they're mirror images of the way that they've been constructed this season. And Vanderbilt's at home. This is a really tough game to predict because of how similar they are. So when I look at a game like that, ultimately it typically comes down to one element that's going to decide this thing. For you guys, what is that element that you think will ultimately decide it?
Mine's Bo Prabula. I think Bo Prabula is going to have to be able to use his arm and his legs to help this team win. When I look at this game, it feels a lot like LSU and Mizzou from a couple of years ago, to where the Tigers couldn't stop Jaden Daniels. He was everywhere. Now, they were more of the pass-friendly team, but mobile quarterback. Sure. They didn't run as much. But, the 533 yards in that game for LSU, 527 for Mizzou. Brady Cook was awesome in that game, but he made a couple of mistakes, and Mizzou couldn't get a stop. I think this, to me, the element is going to come down to Bo Prabula. because I think the defensive line can be aggressive. I don't know if you're going to get stops against Pavia. I think they're going to be able to come up with first downs. They're going to be able to keep the ball moving. Can Bo Prabula match what Vanderbilt does when they have the ball? Because that, to me, is going to be the end outcome of this football game. If he makes a mistake, if he throws a pick, or if they don't pick up first downs on third down conversions, or if they go for it on fourth, or if they just limit it to field goals, I think they're going to lose this football game.
Yeah, and mine would be, can the defense stop Pavia in that offense? Because if they don't, this becomes a shootout. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. I don't think Mizzou is a team that's built for track meets this year. I think they are a team that if it's like 27, you can hold them there. Maybe they could get up into the 30. But if we start talking about a game that we're going like 35 plus for both sides, I don't think Missouri's that kind of team, because I don't think Prabula can throw the ball down the field enough to really beat you. I think he can make a couple of plays. But if you're telling me, hey, he's just got to go back and forth haymaker for haymaker with Pavia and the Vanderbilt offense, I don't think Mizzou's built for that. They've got to run the ball. They've got to have possession of the football, control the time of possession, limit the opportunities for Vanderbilt. And I'm not necessarily saying that Mizzou has to force a bunch of punts in this game. But rather than saying Vandy drives down the field and gets 7, do you bend and not break and hold them to a field goal?
So I think there's a few different elements to this game that are really fascinating. The Pavia part of this is impossible to ignore. Mizzou likes to blitz, right? They try to get after the quarterback. Their front four is good at it, but they also like to send pressure. They've got a couple of linebackers that are very good at doing so. Against blitzes, though, Pavia is averaging 9 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 2 picks so far this season. It's not a good way to get after him. Getting pressure, though, is a must. So you got to do it with exclusively your front four, because blitzing is a nightmare against him. Pavia this season averages 10 yards per attempt when he's in a clean pocket. He averages 5 yards per attempt when he's pressured. So you can't blitz him, but you've got to get pressure. The defensive ends have to get home. All right, that makes sense. That's always been the case against these elite-level quarterbacks, whether it's Tom Brady in the NFL for his career or a guy like Diego Pavia on the college side of things. Where does he attack? Well, of course, the area that Missouri is weakest. He loves, Diego Pavia, to target guys across the middle of the field. Slot receivers, tight ends are his best friends. And when he's throwing across the middle, he is incredibly accurate. I think he has 3 incompletions so far this year when targeting 0 to 10 yards down the field in the middle of the field. He almost always completes those passes. Missouri has a weakness, safeties and linebackers in coverage. Not great. That's not a matchup that you want. So I don't know how Missouri stops Diego Pavia. Truly, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm fascinated to see what they cook up defensively. This is a huge Corey Batoon game. What are you going to do? What is the plan to slow him down? You're not going to stop him. Can you slow him down? On offense, I also find it to be really interesting, and this is the side that I would say it's a little different than what you guys have said thus far. I'm really curious about Missouri's running game. It has not looked good the past 2 weeks against Bama and against Auburn. Those run defenses, I believe, are better than what Vanderbilt has to offer. If you look at just the rankings, Vanderbilt is a top 15 run defense in the country so far this season. They're allowing fewer than 95 yards per game. That is a little bit skewed. They have been really good against Charleston Southern and Georgia State, which brings those numbers way down. Against Alabama, they gave up $150 on the ground. And against LSU last week, they averaged 5 yards per carry against Vanderbilt. So you can run on this defense. You have to stay committed to it. And you got to be better than Charleston Southern and Georgia State at doing so. If you can do that, though, Missouri can stay on track. They can grind down the clock, keep the ball out of Diego Pavia's hands, wear down that defense, and now you get some of that play-action passing going. So I think that is when Missouri has the ball, the place that this thing is going to be won or lost, because you don't want to get into a situation like it was a couple of weeks ago against Bama where you're trying to match throw for throw with a quarterback that is simply better than what you have to offer. Ty Simpson was better than Bo Prabula. It decided that game. If this game is decided by which quarterback is better, we know which side is going to win. Diego Pavia is a better player than Bo Prabula, and there's no argument otherwise. It's a fascinating game, though, and the national spotlight's going to be on it with game day in Nashville for Mizzou versus Vandy. I don't understand why this game's on ESPN and not ABC, though. I just don't get it.
What is the ABC game? I haven't even really looked. What are you guys trying to compete with? What's better than Mizzou Vandy?
Mizzou versus Vandy is on ESPN because Bama is playing against South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
That's a better game.
on ABC.
Yeah. That's a better game.
Just a better audience. See,
It's a
this
better
is why
game.
we're not counting the Mizzou win at Vandy as a big
Alabama's
win.
got a Heisman candidate. What's Mizzou got?
Exactly. That's a good point.
All right. He's T-Bone. That's Alex. I'm BK. In 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Coming up next, Jeff Marek, one of our favorites. He's going to break down the Zack Bolduc trade. He will also give us his thoughts on what's going on with Robert Thomas right now. Jeff Marek of the Daily Faceoff joins us next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with Day Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Blues will be back in action tonight as they host the Utah Mammoth. We'll have pregame coverage tonight starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario, and puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. And the big news of the day out of the NBA, the Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier have been arrested as part of a pair of a wide-ranging investigation related to illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by the Mafia, authorities announced earlier this morning. The Sports Center update was run by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See Milano.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back in alongside Brandon Kiley and Tanner Hendrickson. I'm Alex Ferrario as we head to the Collier and Thompson hotline now. We love our opportunity to catch up with our favorite hockey insider, Jeff Marek. And Jeff always joins us at the beginning of every season. He's a busy man, though, because over on Daily Faceoff, he's got his show, The Sheet, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock local time, 1 o'clock Eastern. So we got the chance to record with Jeff earlier today. Lots to discuss with Robert Thomas, with Logan Mailloux, and then Zack Bolduc trade. But we started off with Jeff Marek, our favorite hockey insider, as we go to the Collier and Thompson hotline to talk about the Blues offseason, the moves that Doug Armstrong accomplished, and his view on this Blues team going into the upcoming year.
First of all, I like the Cam Fowler signing. Big fan of that. As you well know, he's been outstanding and almost sort of rejuvenated with the St. Louis Blues, paired with Colton Parayko. Last year in that second half, they were one of the best pairs in the entire NHL. Like that move. The Logan Mailloux, Zack Bolduc move is an interesting one. I'm a big fan of Bolduc. I know there's an excess of young forwards with the St. Louis Blues, so they were dealing from a position of strength. I'll tell you right now, they adore this guy in Montreal, but there's a positional need for a big right shot defenseman of the young variety, which is a sort of developmental hole in the organization. So it does make sense there. I know we've only seen Logan Mailloux here in St. Louis for a few games, but nonetheless, that's someone that I think the entire organization understands is going to actualize eventually as a top four defender. Listen, I think the St. Louis Blues are an interesting team because this isn't a team that rebuilds in any traditional way. They're sort of always going through this perpetual rejuvenation of this team, which I really like. It's almost a Glenn Sather 1980s Edmonton Oilers philosophy of even if you're having a good season, or even if you've had a good season, even if you've won the Stanley Cup, you owe it to the organization to change things up a minimum of 15%, just to keep things fresh and just to keep things and players on their toes. I really like the Pius Suter signing. I think he's one of the most versatile players in that position in the NHL. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife kind of player, as you guys are all seeing now in St. Louis. So I liked it. I like the offseason from Doug Armstrong, soon to transition to Alex Steen. I think Steen's been set up nicely here by Doug Armstrong when he finally takes over. The only thing that we're waiting for a couple of things. One, we're waiting for consistency, and that seems to be a theme around the St. Louis Blues team early. And although we've seen flashes of it, and we certainly did in the, albeit in a losing cause against the Los Angeles Kings, just waiting for some saves. It's amazing how much gets covered up and how much gets smoothed over when you get saves. And it's really tough to be a successful team in the NHL when both your goaltenders have a save percentage that is sub 900. I don't think anyone expects it'll stay there. I think the save percentage will rise for both Jordan Binnington and Joel Hofer as well. But right now, we're just waiting. We're kind of waiting for something to happen with the St. Louis Blues. I'm not sure how you're closer to it than I am. We're just waiting for something to pop with this team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, one thing that has popped, unfortunately, Jeff, is the trade. You mentioned it, Zack Bolduc for Logan Mailloux. Zack Bolduc scored again last night. It seems like every time that I check out what he's doing, he scores again. He's not playing a ton, but he's scoring a lot. Meanwhile, Logan Mailloux has been a healthy scratch for the last couple of games for the Blues. It sounds like he should be back into the lineup for them tonight, but it hasn't been pretty early on. His performance, especially defensively, has been lackluster. And I'm curious, when you look at this from the Blues' perspective, perspective. They're trying to win right now, Jeff, but they're also trying to develop a young defenseman in Logan Mailloux. How difficult is that in your history of covering this league, of trying to do both?
It's the first of all, I like the philosophy. And like, I don't think that developing your team needs to be a feast or famine kind of situation. It's either Stanley Cup or we're completely stripping down. The same, and a lot of the successful teams in the NHL have done exactly what the St. Louis Blues are trying here. But to Logan Mailloux, it's difficult. Like, I've always maintained, the most difficult position to transition from the American Hockey League to the NHL is the blue line. Just because everyone's bigger, stronger, faster, so many different responsibilities. The game moves a lot quicker. The passes are crisper. The shots are very very specific. And the game just has a different tempo than you're used to in the American Hockey League. Now, I didn't watch all the games that Logan Mailloux played in, but I watched a good amount of the series when he was playing with Laval against Rochester last year. And this was a sort of area of concern, but I just sort of chalked it up to youth. Is the Rochester Americans were really able to get under Logan Mailloux's skin. They sort of drove him to distraction. There was a lot of running around, with Logan Mailloux trying to even up scores and go after guys. That's why, and again, this is a young player learning his way in the pro game. He's only 22 years old. We all know he's going to, once he figures it all out, become an excellent defenseman here for the Blues. It's just going to take time. Like, he's not Cale Makar. He's not stepping right in. He's not Lane Hudson. He's not Steve Boyum. I mean, he's not Quinn Hughes. He's not these guys that are going to walk right in and change your blue line. It's more of a traditional path for Logan Mailloux. Does it sting when you watch Montreal Canadiens games if you're a St. Louis Blues fan? Absolutely. That fit has been hand to glove for that player on that team, in that market, with his background playing for the Quebec Ramparts. Like, it all adds up that it's going to lead to this place that we're finding it right now. But breaking in defensemen is hard. Like, it's really tough. And the thing about breaking in defensemen is it's development for defensemen. It's not a straight line. It's a bunny hop. Like, he'll have, a couple of really good games and then a clunker, maybe another clunker, and then he's going to watch for a little while, and then he's going to come back and he's going to rip off 3 really good games. So it's that perpetual state for a lot of young defenders of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And it seems as if that's the exact thing that's happening with Logan Mailloux here.
We're talking with Jeff Marek, the host of The Sheet over on Daily Faceoff here on BK and Ferrario on the Callier and Thompson hotline. Jeff, another younger player that I wanted to ask you about that I know you're very familiar with, and he's been in the league long enough now, is Robert Thomas. But he was an area of conversation early on this season, just from a slow start for Robert Thomas. And you have seen his growth through juniors hockey in the NHL to where he's at right now. Can you be a star or a superstar in the league if you don't have consistency with your game? And does Robert Thomas fall into that category for you?
I tend to, and I'll even go you one better. I hate to be that guy, but I even watched him in youth hockey playing for the York Simcoe Express. Like, that's how far back I go with Robert Thomas. And that is why, even though, we're not seeing the point per game production out of Robert Thomas, I tend to not worry about him. Right, like, I know I'm not there, in the trenches with the rest of the St. Louis Blues and their fans, living this right now with Robert Thomas's start. But I've just seen too much good hockey out of Robert Thomas, honestly, to be that concerned about it. I still think he's one of the elite playmakers in the NHL. He's a legitimate number 1 center in the prime of his career at 26 years old. I expect him to certainly be in the conversation, and if it were up to me, make Team Canada for the Olympics as well. It's not the start that he wants. It's not the start that the Blues want for him or the Blues fans want for him. But I know this is a crummy sports talk radio answer for this question, but I don't get concerned about Robert Thomas. I really don't, because it's only a matter of time before you get back to a Oh, yeah, here we go. 1.5 per game for Robert Thomas.
I did want to ask you about the Team Canada side of things here. It's become a conversation here in St. Louis on, is that weighing on him? Is that something that is in his mind as he goes through the season and he's pressing a bit? I know you sat down with him to talk about Team Canada and a bunch of other stuff going into this season. What was your understanding of that? How much does he think about the Team Canada side of things?
He does, but I have the feeling that whether you're Canadian, whether you're American, whether you're Swedish, whether you're Finnish, go right down the list, whether you admit it publicly or not, and I applaud Robert Thomas for being honest and saying, yeah, it's on my mind. It's on everybody's mind. It's on Connor Hellebuck's mind. Am I going to be able to be the starter like I was at Four Nations for Team USA? I think it's on Thatcher Demko's mind. I was injured last year. Can I be the starting goaltender for USA this year? Like, there's so many things. Like, when you're an elite level player in the NHL, there's a lot of boxes that you check, whether it's trophy boxes, whether it's Stanley Cup box, whether it's outdoor game box, like Winter Classic, or whether it's international competition, not just World Championships or now Four Nations, but also the Olympics. So I think for anyone, whether it's, Robert Thomas or, even someone like Nick Suzuki in Montreal as well, who we wonder, is he going to be in the mix for Team Canada this time around? I think it's on everybody's mind. It's that shadow that follows you wherever you go this season. And until the team is officially named, I think it's going to be something that, as much as Robert Thomas thinks about, the St. Louis Blues and how he can improve the team and improve himself and improve his line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think he's thinking about Team Canada at the Olympics. And I think every athlete who's in consideration is thinking about the athletes. The only ones who might not be are the ones that have already been named.
Jeff, final one for you, and we always appreciate you joining us here early on in the season. You've seen a lot of hockey. I think we ask this question to you every time we have you on, but just from the start of this year, we've been emphasizing to fans like, hey, it's early on. At what point in the season do you start to get concerned if consistency is still an issue for the Blues?
Thanksgiving. And as we call it here in Canada, U.S. Thanksgiving. That's usually the cut line where teams start to make the decision. Like, they've had enough runway to see what the team is all about, and they start making that decision, whether they're in, they're out. They're starting to think about buying. They're starting to think about selling, maybe recalibrate some of the expectations. It seems as if Thanksgiving is when those decisions get finally made. I know that this time of year, it's always difficult, and it's true of any sport. You have to sort of caveat every conversation with, it's early. And I should have done, if I was a better guest, I would have done this at the beginning of this conversation, said everything that I say here is prefaced with, it's early, but, because we're only a handful of games into the season here. We're not seeing trends yet.
Don't sell yourself short, Jeff. You could forget that every single time, and you're still our favorite hockey guest.
Oh, bless you. That's why I love you guys. I got you fooled. Awesome.
Well, Jeff, we always love doing this, my man. If we could get some type of schedule together with you to get you on all the time, we would. But I know you're a busy man. Check out Jeff's work over on Daily Faceoff, The Sheet. It's Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Jeff, we always appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much, and keep it locked into the Blues, and we'll catch up soon.
Back anytime. Let's do this more regularly.
BK, NFL action is in full swing with games tonight, Thursday night football. So we got to open up the Underdog app. And in the state of Missouri, you can play tonight with Thursday night football. First of all, I opened up my Underdog app, BK, and I already got the 40% profit boost, which is a great thing to have. So then I go over to Thursday night football, Chargers and Vikings. Get this one. I'm going higher on Carson Wentz interceptions.
Okay.
Because I think he's going to throw a pick. It's not both picks, but it's close to it. I'm going higher on pass yards for Justin Herbert, higher on touchdowns for Justin Jefferson, and higher on receiving yards for Keenan Allen.
You can fade or follow with Alex's picks over on the Underdog app. You can also put together one of your own. Playing Underdog is super easy. Choose whether your favorite players are going higher or lower on their stats. Get your entries right. You could win up to 5,000 times your cash. It's all available for you on the Underdog app today. Be sure to download that app. Sign up using the promo code BKO. That's promo code BKO. And you can score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BKO. Underdog. Make plays. Win money. Must be 18 or older. Present in Missouri. Terms to apply. See assets at underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Three 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 636, guys, is there any path for the Blue Jays to win the World Series other than hitting a boatload of home runs? Not really.
Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts get injured.
That would help.
That's the path.
I'm not wishing that upon anybody.
But they asked the path. It's going to be injuries.
Yeah, you would need the Dodgers offense as a whole to go cold, right? Like, it's one thing. We've seen Ohtani can get shut down. He didn't really do much in the Phillies series. But you also got Freeman and Betts that are behind him, and Teoscar becomes Babe Ruth along with Kike Hernandez in the postseason. Like, they got a lot that needs to
Tommy
go right
Edman,
for
don't
him.
forget about him.
Oh, yeah, Tommy Evans had a great postseason. Like, you need, like, that whole offense to go cold. That's essentially what needs to happen.
It's not easy. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 636. BK, do you think the Chiefs game against the Colts, it's a few weeks away, is a must-win if they want to earn the bye in the postseason? Yeah. I mean, if you want the number one seed, you've got to beat the Colts head-to-head. You've got to beat the Bills head-to-head. Those games are absolute must-wins. You probably can only lose one, maybe two more games the rest of the way if you're the Chiefs and you want the number one seed, because you already have 3 losses on your resume. I think it's going to take 12 or 13 wins to get the bye. So there's only one of them. So, yeah, that's a must-win. You got to beat the Bills, got to beat the Colts, those two. You can lose like 1 or 2 more games. Can't beat those.
Yeah, because it makes it easier, too. You win that game, then you don't have to surpass them in win total, right? You can get up to that number and then hold the tiebreaker over them.
Exactly. From the 618, do you guys think that for the Toronto Blue Jays to win, Scherzer and Bieber would have to pitch like Cy Young candidates? Yeah, that would help.
Yeah, I think you need to have 3 elite performances from your starting pitchers if you want to go that into that conversation.
You would need them. You would need the Dodgers to choke, which is possible. I mean, there's a ton of pressure on them to win it all. They're expected to do so. Everybody is picking them for good reason. But that's the kind of thing that you would need to see.
Yeah, you need your 4 starters to outduel the other starter on the Dodgers mound. And the reason I say that is because if you can get in the Dodgers bullpen, you might have a chance, because that Dodgers bullpen is a giant game of Russian roulette. You don't know what you're going to get from those guys when they come in.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 636. Guys, do you get to do interviews with other sports stations ever? For example, a radio station that covers whoever the Cardinals or the Blues play that night, do they ever reach out to you? Occasionally. I know, Alex, you do stuff for the Blues. I've gone on other stations for Cardinals things. Mizzou, I cover them for the Alton Telegraph as well. So, like, tomorrow I'm going on a station in Kansas City to talk about Mizzou.
You freaking traitor. Unbelievable. Of course you're going on a Kansas City.
What a company, man.
Yeah, seriously. I went on...
I've only gone on in Houston before.
I think I was on Winnipeg radio like 4 different times last season in the playoffs, and they were getting sick of me because all I kept talking about was how the Jets were going to choke. They kept calling, though, so it's like, all right, I guess I get more calls for Canada more than the U.S. in hockey matchups.
From the 618, if the Bears beat the Ravens, can we start taking Chicago seriously as a run for the playoffs? I think it depends if Lamar Jackson plays.
No, I don't care if Lamar Jackson plays. They're going to put up points because that defense is bad. And if their defense can slow down Lamar, I'll at least appreciate the defense. But that offense is not going to be able to put up the points against a playoff caliber team that they would for pretty much most of the rest of their season. No, I am the biggest Bears hater / I think Caleb Williams isn't good.
See, let's go through their next few games, okay? I'm really surprised by this line against Baltimore. Baltimore's a 6.5-point favorite. I understand. Lamar's been amazing, and he's always amazing. The Ravens stink, man. The rest of their roster is terrible and has been all season. The Bears can win that game.
I agree.
I don't think that should surprise anybody. And then next week, they take on the Cincinnati Bengals. They can win that game. Then the Giants, then the Vikings, then the Steelers. All of those games are winnable for the Bears. Mm-hmm. So can they make the playoffs? Absolutely. I mean, if they go 4-1 in that stretch, they would be 8-3 on the season. Schedule gets tougher down the stretch, but if you get to 9 or 10 wins in the NFC, I think you're getting in.
Yeah.
So could you take them seriously as a playoff contender? Yes. A Super Bowl contender? No. I don't see them that.
They could win 11 games this year, and I'd still think they'll lose the first round of the playoffs.
Oh, I agree. But I think they were asking about as a playoff contender, like making a run for the postseason.
Oh, see, I thought they meant in terms of when they get into the playoffs and are a contender.
Oh, no. I don't think anybody views them that way.
Yeah, I think if they're going to get viewed that way, they'll have to do something special at Philly, at Green Bay, in back-to-back weeks. Then we could have a conversation about that. But I agree, they're a playoff, get to the playoff kind of contender.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show in 15 minutes. We're going to talk to Joey Vitale, Blues analyst for 101 ESPN and FanDuel Sports Midwest. But next, Sonny Gray listed among the top available players via trade this offseason. We'll let you know who else is on the list and one player that T-Bone thinks could be a good fit for the Cardinals next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So, Alex, earlier today over on The Athletic, our good buddy, Jim Bowden.
I love his honesty.
An absolute gem this time of the year. Put out a new article on the best trade candidates going into this offseason. The 10 MLB stars he believes are the most likely to be traded. There is one Cardinal on the list. His name is Sonny Gray. He writes the following. Chaim Bloom has taken over as the head of baseball operations for the Cardinals, and he's already talked to Gray about waiving his no-trade clause. Gray has indicated to Bloom he would consider doing so for the right contending team. Gray is signed for 2 more seasons. Teams such as the Mets, Orioles, who like shorter-term commitments to starting pitching, would be great trade fits for Sonny Gray. So that is what Jim Bowden had to say about Sonny. We've talked about him a lot. He's somebody that I would guess is probably going to be traded this offseason. I have my qualms with that, but it is what it is. It sounds like that's potentially and maybe even probably going to happen for the Cardinals. As we expand our view, though, I do find some of the other names on this list to be really interesting, Alex, because it will have an effect on the market for Sonny Gray. What other starting pitchers are out there that teams could turn their attention to? Names include on Jim Bowden's list of the 10 biggest stars that could be traded at during this year's offseason. Tarek Skubal with the Detroit Tigers.
I'll trade for him.
Freddie Peralta of the Milwaukee Brewers. Who could have seen that one coming? Hunter Green, this was a surprising addition to the list, in my opinion. He said, quote, there have been several reports out of Cincinnati that the Reds are planning to shop Hunter Green this winter. I've not been able to confirm those reports, nor do I understand why they would want to consider it, considering he's under team control through 2029 and has the potential to win a Cy Young award at some point or at least finish in the top 5. I'm also confused by that, but whatever. So that's another starter that is on this list. Mackenzie Gore is on the list. Sandy Alcantara is on the list. Those are all the starters that are potentially going to be available this offseason. Alex, if all of those guys are indeed available, it could push Sonny Gray down the list a bit on where he ranks among the best pitchers that other teams could potentially trade for because of the money that's associated with him.
Well, the money, and then I think the upside, too, compared to Sonny Gray with, I mean, most of those guys have number 1 upside, and I'm not saying Sonny Gray doesn't, but Sonny Gray's upside is behind him now.
Tell me what you guys think on this. I would guess the number 1 starter that teams are going to be interested in because of the money is Freddie Peralta. He's on a super reasonable contract. He is very good. He makes all of his starts. It's $8 million next year. I think he's probably the number 1 guy that teams are going to be trying to acquire because of the cost that's associated.
I was thinking Mackenzie Gore, but the cost associated with it would be obviously substantial compared to Freddie Peralta. So you're right, but I mean, upside, if I'm a team, I'm looking at a 26-year-old Mackenzie Gore who's my property until 2028 when he's a free agent. So that would be another one that I think a lot of teams would hone in on.
Yeah, I think of the rentals, Peralta would be the number 1 guy on there because of the money, because Skubal's number is going to go up in arbitration again this year.
There's only one team that's going to acquire Tarek Skubal.
And if you sign Peralta to an extension, it's probably looking like a 6-year 135 or whatever the number is we've talked about with like Dylan Cease, for example. It's not going to be Skubal, who looks like he's going to break the highest paid contract for a starting pitcher. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys will drive down that what teams look at for Sonny Gray. And the way, if you're the Cardinals and you help to try and incentivize and help prop him up this list, is you have to eat some money on the deal, right? You pull down that $35 million salary and say, hey, would you like him at $20 million? And we'll get a little bit better of a return because he wants to go there. And then we're eating some of this money to make it a little bit more reasonable for you.
So the other thing that I wanted to get into based upon this list, T-Bone, is one of the position players that you had interest in. Now, some of the names that are included on this list include Joe Adell, former top prospect, Alec Boehm, who we talked about a lot last offseason, Brandon Lau of the Tampa Bay Rays, also noted on this list. But the player that you said, could be interesting for the Cardinals is Jarren Duran, outfielder for the Boston Red Sox. Why did he pique your interest?
He's still a young outfielder. He's still got some control left on him. He's not a free agent until after the 2028 season, so you'd be getting him for 3 years. But he also would be an upgrade offensively for you in your outfield, because you look at their outfield and what I would project is going to be their outfield next year. Alec Burleson, really good left fielder, above league average. Victor Scott, really good defensively, way below average offensively. And then Jordan Walker, bad at both defense and offense. If you're the Cardinals, if you could go out and acquire Jarren Duran, someone that Chaim Bloom has familiarity with, he drafted him into the Red Sox organization. I think he makes a ton of sense for the Cardinals. And he plays the kind of baseball that I think people here in St. Louis would love. And I know he would tug at the heartstrings of one Brandon Kiley because he had 14 triples 2 seasons ago.
I love him so much.
13 triples last year. He was 14% above league average. And you can play him in a corner or you can play him in center field. Center field, he's below league average. Like looking at his numbers last year defensively, in terms of defensive run saves, he was a -2 in center field. He was a +11 in right field, or in left field, last year.
It's kind of like Lars Nootbaar. You can play him in center. You'd prefer to play him in a corner.
Yeah, and I think he's better defensively than Lars Nootbaar is. And he's got better speed. He can steal bases for you. Like, he fits what I think Cardinals fans would like to believe the identity of the Cardinals baseball team should be.
I love him. You guys know how much I like Jarren Duran. The other thing is he's got 3 years of club control remaining. You've got 2026, 7, and 8 on him. All at pretty reasonable deals. Like next year, he's at an $8 million salary. And then after that, you probably expect like 12 and 15-ish. So it goes up. It's not cheap necessarily, but the only reason he's available is because of how many outfielders the Red Sox have already developed. So they've got younger, cheaper, and potentially better players in their outfield. Whether it's him, Wilyer Abreu, I do think that the Red Sox are a pretty natural landing spot for a potential trade for the Cardinals this offseason. A, these guys all have a history with Chaim Bloom. And B, they've got outfield. And the Cardinals, they've got a lot of numbers in the outfield. They don't have the quality of Jarren Duran in their outfields right now. I would like to see them just continue to acquire good players. Duran's the kind of guy that it's risky. I would be interested in re-signing and extending him. Like, buy out his arbitration years and then add on 2 more years of free agency.
That's where we differ, but yeah, it's an idea.
I mean,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think that he's the kind of player that I would be willing to build around. That being said, I have no idea what the cost would look like. What kind of capital are you giving up? Because the Red Sox are probably not going to be interested in acquiring a bunch of prospects for Jarren Duran, I wouldn't think, at least. So are you looking at trading like a Brendan Donovan? So you give up what is effectively an infielder for you for an outfielder. They're at very similar spots in their respective careers. Both are in their late 20s, early 30s. They have a couple of years left of arbitration rights. Both are really good players, but they do it at different positions, or they succeed best at different positions. Is that something that maybe both teams could get better because of? I think it could make some sense, but that's the part that I have the toughest time with, is just figuring out what the cost acquisition-wise is going to look like for the Cardinals if they wanted to make this kind of a move.
You answered what I was going to say, because unless I'm just flipping Brendan Donovan for him, I don't know if I'm going to make that move, because I think now Duran is more gifted in terms of the doubles and triples that he creates, but I think they're essentially the same player. Now, Donovan's an infielder, Duran's an outfielder, but Donovan can play the outfield, won a Gold Glove as a utility guy. And I feel like if you're going to trade the assets necessary to get Duran, you're probably talking about some players in your pipeline that you're hoping to build around. And then you're going to, flip Donovan to try and recoup that? So I feel like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, to where if you could do what you said, where Donovan for Duran, I'm all aboard that.
And I think you have to add in more. I don't think it's, I think Donovan has less value than Jarren Duran does, A, because of the years that remain for Jarren Duran, and B, because I think Duran, listen, I love Brendan Donovan. I think Duran's just a slightly better player than Donnie has been in his major league career. So I think it would take a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I think that's just, you're getting rid of one thing, giving up pieces that you're hoping to build around to bring in a guy that might not be, your team's not where you want it to be when Duran is probably at his best, or when you're not going to have to pay him a lot of money.
Or if you could do something like Donnie, JoJo, plus a prospect for Jarren Duran. That's the kind of move that maybe could make some sense for both teams, but it's going to be significant to get a guy like this who's in his late 20s, has multiple years remaining on his deal, is relatively speaking inexpensive, and has the upside of Jarren Duran, who, a year ago we were talking about as an MVP candidate in the American League. That's the upside that still exists there, and he affects every aspect of your team. I think you're a better baseball team with Jarren Duran here next year. I just don't know if that's the kind of thing that they're looking for right now. I don't know, but it's definitely an opportunistic kind of move.
You're the same baseball team with Duran next year because your pitching still stinks.
Yeah, I think you you could replace most of what Brendan Donovan brings in an ideal world with J.J. Weatherholt. So you're getting similar production there. And now I'm also adding in a guy like Jarren Duran in the outfield. I think the energy that he brings is contagious. Like, I think you are a better team doing that than you are with what you have in
The only thing you hope is with Weatherholt. Like, we just don't know at the major league level. Like, you would imagine it's replacing that, which is a good thing, but you just don't know. And for how it's going with rookies in the Cardinals.
Coming up next, Joey Vitale, Blues analyst for 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. Happy to go out to the Collier and Thompson hotline to be joined by our friend, the Blues analyst for 101 ESPN and for FanDuel Sports Midwest. He is Joey Vitale joining us here on the show. Joey, appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
Joey.
What's up, boys? What's up?
Joey, how are those white shoes looking from the last game?
Oh, boy. Thanks for asking. I had to go home that night. Got home around 11:30. I had to do some massive cleanup. I don't know if BK, I don't know if Alex or Tanner told you. I got to the booth, and I always have coffee with me. And it's never been an issue in the radio booth up top at the Enterprise Center. We have lots of room. And down in 320, it's a little bit tighter. You know, there's cameras around. It's dark. We don't have a lot of light down there. I had a big old cup of coffee with a lid on and everything, like a to-go cup, you know, and I kind of moved something, and this coffee, it exploded. Like, I'm talking, I told Alex, it was like John Wayne. I swear, John Wayne from across the Enterprise Center, he go, pow, pow. He smoked me with his 6-shooter. This thing went I don't know how it didn't ruin any equipment. Hopefully no one from FanDuel is listening and they're having any glitches. But turned out it was okay. I got it all over my beautiful white shoes. It was all over my clothes, all over my notes. I mean, if that's not Kelly Chase over my shoulder saying, "I told you, son, you don't need notes. Just call the game on the ice." I don't know what else is.
Well, you're going to have a few notes for this next game, Joe. There's a lot of line combinations that have changed.
All over the place.
Booch is now with Thomas and Kyrou. Holloway, Shin, and Neighbors. That's a line. Now you've got different defensive pairings all over the place. What'd you think when you showed up to the ice the other day and everything had changed from when we last saw the St. Louis Blues take the ice?
I liked it. I really did. You know, and because I'm like, you know what? It's certainly not something the coach wants to see, and I think, you know, all the fans and everyone wants to see more offense. I think the players want to have more contributions. So I don't know anyone who doesn't like it. I would question what is their motive. So I think that everyone should love this because, like I said, there's a head coach looking for chemistry, and he hasn't seen it consistently enough from some players. You know, the counter argument to this is, well, and I've heard this from players in the past, you know, how do you develop chemistry unless you just give it more time? Well, I don't know. You can complain all you want, but you don't have a lot of time. And I think that these players are good enough, and I think that there's enough things that the coach has not seen within the player's control that he hasn't liked, and that's why you have to make the adjustments that he's now going to make. You know, things like playing on your toes, playing physical, beating the defenseman to the front of the net for shots from the point. All that, guys, that's all within a player's control. Monty hasn't seen enough of that. Those are the things that gets him to switch lines up. It's not necessarily the point production or chances for. So I think when you have a team and a group of players that aren't producing and aren't performing to those controllable things up to the standard the coach wants, you switch it up. And you got to keep switching it up. To me, that's what accountability is. That's really the biggest thing a coach has in his power is controlling ice time. You don't want to listen to me, that's fine, that's your choice. But the only thing I really have that I can use for leverage is ice time and who's playing, who's not playing. So make no mistake, this is a head coach that is not afraid to change things up and change things very early. Even as early as, you know, halfway through the first period tonight, you could see guys on different lines because if he's not seeing what he wants, he's going to make some moves.
Joey, how much of an impact will a guy like Oskar Sundqvist make for the rest of the lineup?
It'll be really important. You know, it's a fourth line that certainly has lost a little bit of energy, losing Radek Faksa. You know, the Faksa line with, of course, Torpchenko and Walker last year was such an important pivotal line. Started games, finished games, led periods. They really just brought everyone into the fight. You know, and Jim Montgomery said last year, around Christmas time when they started that turnaround, he pretty much grabbed the whole team and said, hey, this line right here, this WCF line, we need everyone to play with that same identity, the same philosophies, bring it on your line too, and everyone did. So you lose Radek Faksa, then Sundqvist gets hurt. It's been a bit of a mixing pot on the back end there on the fourth line too. So you bring Sundqvist in now, you're going to start seeing a little bit more of a defensive savvy back end. You're going to start to see a fourth line, a bottom six group of guys that start pulling the rope maybe in a defend first mindset. Oskar Sundqvist, his sticks in the D zone are some of the best on the team. right? He's kind of that fixer guy for Montgomery. You put him over the board, you know everything's just going to get taken care of. But the biggest impact I think Sundquist is going to have on a game like tonight is, guys, the Blues have got to start starting better. The Stars have not had the urgency they've needed, and to follow suit with that, they haven't had the production that they needed. You look at the Blues all year long, only 3 goals in the first period. I mean, that's not a lot. So tonight, the start is going to be super important. And when you have a guy like Oskar Sundquist in, would not shock me one bit to see him starting a game like tonight, to really get the engines going, to bring the forecheck, to bring the energy, bring the physicality. And then from there, hopefully the Blues can start building on, especially in the first period.
Joey Vitale is our guest here on 101 ESPN. You'll hear him on the call tonight. Blues versus the Mammoth. Pregame with Alex begins at 6 o'clock. Puck drop will be right here on 101 ESPN at 7. Joe, my final question that I've got for you, we got to talk a little bit about Logan Mailloux, who's expected to be back into the lineup for the Blues tonight. And he had been in pairing with Cam Fowler yesterday at practice. What do you make of that pairing, and what do you think it does for a guy like Logan Mailloux to have that veteran presence with him?
Well, it's going to slow his game down a little bit. It's going to have a veteran player that is going to cover for some early mistakes that a young player is going to make. I think that Logan Mailloux is in a perfect spot. I know it's not exactly where he wanted to start the year, but if you look at all young defensemen, and Chris Pronger made comments a couple games ago about this, it takes around 200 to 300 games for a player to really understand how to manage the game, right? He's going to know how to play the game, right? He's going to make an impact in the game. That's not what I'm saying. What I mean, manage the game, know when to jump, know when to hold back, know when to make the play, right? Know when to use the middle. What time of the game is it? What's the score? Is it late in a period? Know when to be physical, right? Are you up 4-0? Are you down 4-0? That's the time to really maybe push it over the edge at times. If it's a tight game late, you don't want to kind of set yourself apart. How do you use your stick? What's your stick work? Things like that. That's what I talk about when I say manage the game. So it could take a long time for a player like that to manage the game. So in the meantime, he's got to get back to playing a simple game. He's got to understand his foundation and start simple. And then once you do that, all of a sudden you start getting a couple pluses. Maybe you get a point or two. Then you start building your confidence. But right now, I think his confidence is a little shaken, and it should be. But in order to go back there, you put yourself with a Cam Fowler. He's going to help him really simplify the game. But the biggest thing you look for when you have deep pairings like this is with a veteran guy and a young guy. Parayko with Broberg, old and young. Falk with Tucker, old and young. Cam Fowler, old, Mailloux, young. The balance they have now, one thing has to stand out: communication. You have to be talking now. The older guys on the bench, I mean, it's almost like a dialogue. You're almost like you're rehearsing a skit. Every time you're out there, you're talking. You come back to the bench, you're talking. The coach is talking. Now it's just communication. A lot of time when two young players play together, and I'm not saying this happened with Tucker and Mailloux, but a lot of times two young guys, they're kind of in their own little zone. They're kind of starstruck at times. There's not a lot of communication. Well, I can promise you one thing. With the older, younger guys that they have now in the deep pairings on all 3 pairs, you're going to start seeing a lot more communication on the bench, and that is nothing but dialogue. It's education, and it's going to help with the on-ice performance right after.
Really looking forward to seeing what he looks like tonight. We'll hear Joey Vitale on the call right here in your home of the Blues 101 ESPN. Joe, looking forward to it. Should be a fun one between the Blues and the Mammoth. All the best, man. We'll talk with you again next week.
Sounds good, boys. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, Joey. That's Joey Vitale joining us as he does each and every Thursday here on BK and Ferrario. Appreciate his time as always. Alex, I'm really curious to see what that pairing looks like and, frankly, how long it stays together. Because just because he starts the game with Cam Fowler does not mean that he will finish the game with Fowler.
You're right.
It might be a double shift situation. Maybe it's like 5 guys are really working together, and then occasionally Mailloux will get a shift with Cam Fowler. I'm curious to see what this looks like, how they decide to go about this.
You got to take care of the player, so it wouldn't surprise me at the end of this game if Mailloux's got 10 to 12 minutes of ice time, because they'll start out this way. And by the third period, you'll see Fowler and Parayko back together, and probably some double shifting from Tyler Tucker, maybe a couple of shifts from Mailloux, depending on how the first couple of games go. I'm not as worried about the Fowler and Mailloux pairing as I am Parayko and Tucker. The Fowler and Mailloux, I think, is exactly what we've been talking about, like a Ryan Suter back out there. Now, Fowler's got upside, but he's going to allow Mailloux to play his style with that safety net back there. Maybe you take some of the points away from Fowler, but his points may come on the power play in this game. you're going to have to play Parayko and Tucker, or I believe it's probably Parayko and Broberg, and Tucker and Falk are playing together, if I remember that correctly. Parayko and Broberg are now your number one pair. And we think Broberg has been awesome since he's been a Blue. Parayko, we already know, is the number one defenseman. Now you're going up against one of the hottest lines right now in the National Hockey League in terms of Keller and Schmaltz with Peterka. So that is going to be the one I'm more actually honed in on than Fowler and Mayu, because I think this is the safety net that we were talking about of providing Logan Mayu with somebody who can play the left side.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what it looks like. We'll get more information on that tonight. Certainly talk about that plenty tomorrow here on 101 ESPN. Full coverage begins tonight at 6 o'clock for Blues versus Mammoth. The trade that we've been talking about all along got another element to it last night. Zack Bolduc with another goal. Are we going to continue doing this all year long? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update drawn by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Blues back in action tonight as they'll be taking on the Utah Mammoth. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario, and then puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. And the big news out of the NBA today, Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier have been arrested as part of a wide-ranging investigation related to illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by the Mafia, authorities announced earlier today. The Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Why does Zack Bolduc always have to score goals, Alex?
Ooh. I know. He's talented.
So Zack Bolduc scored
gave him away
another
for
goal
nothing?
last
Shut
night.
up.
He's now up to 4 goals in 8 games so far this season.
What, that bothers you or something?
And the Blues traded him for a guy that was a
Easy. Bolduc was a healthy scratch in his first season with the Blues, all right?
He'd be tied for the team lead in goals if he were still here.
Guess
in
what,
St.
man?
Louis.
It would be fun to have him on your team, all right? It would be fun to have him on your team. Let's put that out in the open right now.
Let me ask you this question.
Better be a different way because I'm sick of answering it.
I don't think you're going to like it.
Oh, jeez.
I think it's a fair question, but it doesn't. Let me just ask you the question, and we can
Just
get
do
into
it.
the conversation surrounding the question.
I don't need a preface with it. Just ask it.
Are the Blues a better team today with Zack Bolduc on it instead of Logan Mailloux?
Yeah. And I think that's an easy answer.
T-Bone, do you agree?
I agree.
The Blues today, if you swapped it back and said, hey, there are take-backs in this scenario, Zack Bolduc is back with the Blues, Logan Mailloux back with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
They're a better team today. We agree with that, right?
Yeah. I don't think that's a question I should get mad at because it's very obvious that that's true. I mean, your power play would be better. 3 of his 5 points have come on the power play.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because I think it is instructive on why the Blues made this move.
Now you're cooking.
I think Doug Armstrong would agree with that statement. I think Doug Armstrong probably would have agreed with that statement the second that he announced the trade, that the Blues, for right now, took a step back by trading Zack Bolduc. And I think they were comfortable in doing so because they felt as though over the next couple of seasons, and certainly beyond, they will be better with Mailloux than they would have been with Zack Bolduc. I think this was a futures trade for a team that's also trying to win right now. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it tough to analyze this trade day to day, Alex, is because, of course, Zack Bolduc is the better player right now. Nobody should be surprised by that. Bolduc was an awesome player for the Blues last year, and I think we all expected was probably going to continue to improve from that. It's also worth noting he's playing 13 minutes a night. He is a third-line winger, and the Blues have a lot of wingers on this team. So it made sense to make the move at the time. I defended it then. I will continue to do so today, despite the fact that so far it has not looked good for the Blues, and I think we can all acknowledge that. But it was never expected to look great for them at the very beginning. This is a move that was made for the future.
Yeah, it was. And the part that I always kind of chuckle at when you see people react when Bolduc scores a goal is like, Jesus, like, I can't believe the Blues did that trade. Guys, Bolduc was the Blues player that they developed. What Bolduc is now is from the Blues development system where they worked with him. The coaches were working with him, and he excelled last season. And now he's in a system where he's a ready-to-compete now player. We have always trusted the Blues scouting department in terms of identifying NHL talent and younger talent. It rarely has gone wrong for Doug Armstrong and company in the past 10 years.
Really, just stay out of free agency, but otherwise they're great.
Free agency has been the rough
else
one.
They're really good at.
But, like, they do this where they look at a player in another organization that is being underused and say, we can get more out of this. Pavel Buchnevich is a perfect example. Pavel Buchnevich was a third-line winger for the New York Rangers, and they said, we can get more out of this. Now, I know Buch is struggling now, But when they acquired him, that was a 30-goal, 75-point player.
Sam Fowler, different. It's not like a usage situation, but he's in a bad situation. If you pluck him from that, bring him here, we will get more out of the player. This has always been the thing for the Florida Panthers, too. They do the same thing.
Yeah.
They see guys that are either underutilized or in a bad situation, bring them here. We've got a championship culture. They're going to be great players with us.
So the reason that I chuckle at that is, like, if we've trusted the Blues development system in terms of all of these other younger players, then why are we so frustrated with where Logan Mayhew's at right now? And I know why. I know the answer to that. It's because, one, Bolduc's performing, and two, we thought that the Blues were going to be competitive.
And that's the thing that I find really interesting about the trade and where they're at today. Because I can say everything that I just said, Alex, and we can agree they're worse today, it's better for tomorrow, all of this different stuff, right? But also this team's trying to win right now. And so doing so while dragging along at times a young player in Logan Mayhew that you're trying to develop at the NHL level, those two things can collide.
Yes.
And they're almost counterproductive when you're trying to serve both masters, so to speak. Like, it's just not an easy situation to handle if you're the Blues. And that, to me, is what makes it look bad. Is that you're potentially losing games right now because of a trade that you made that you knew would make you worse, while also saying at the same time, we're trying to compete for the playoffs. And you have your coach coming out and saying, like, we've got to be better. This is unacceptable. We're falling into the same issues that we did a year ago. And when all of this stuff is happening, that's where I think you go back to, well, you had this dude that you made you better for right now, so why'd you trade him?
But did he, though? Like, we can answer the question and say, is the team better now if Bolduc was on it and not Mayhew? Bolduc's not playing in your top six on this team.
I think you're better with Zack Bolduc.
But Jim Montgomery is still having that same comment after a game against the LA Kings, because your top players aren't performing.
Maybe, but he's performing like a top player, and I think
he's not playing in your top six, though. He's not in this top six. He's not playing.
He might.
I mean, I don't know. They moved Kyra down to the third line, so he might have been pushed into the top six for a game or two stretch.
But he's also playing 11 minutes in Montreal. Like, if Montreal doesn't see him as a top six winger, where there's a spot for him, he's not playing in the top six here. He's on the second power play unit, and he's playing 12, 13 minutes a night.
I'm not convinced of that with the way that this season has started. Maybe.
I am, because of the way Snuggerud ended the season last year and how he looked. They were playing him with Buch and Thomas without question. You'd be seeing Bolduc at times up there.
Season, but Snuggy's performance this year has dipped in a way that I think you may have flipped those two. And Kyrou, instead of being up on that top line, maybe Kyrou is still with Shin and Holloway. You have Bolduc on the top line with Thomas and Buchnevich, and it's Suter, Snuggerud, and Neighbors as your third line right now. I think that would absolutely be in play for the way that they've played so far.
But this also goes back to Bolduc at his 5-on-5 play. Like, he might not be playing up to that potential to be the top line player. But going back to what we were talking about of trying to compete now, that's also why they made the trade. Yes, they're trying to compete right now, but they're not just trying to compete for a cup in the next couple of years. They're trying to compete now, but also trying to open up a 10-year window where they're always competitive. And you needed help on the right side.
I'm with you. And again, I want to say this on the beginning. Or
no,
the
you don't like Mayhew. You said it already.
I think it was the right move. I also think it's fair to have some scrutiny to moves. And on this move, it was bold. I respected it. And I think it's the right thing for the long-term future of the St. Louis Blues. However, and we said this at the time, Alex, it's fair to question it. Because of how bold it is and because of how much risk is associated with it, it could blow up in your face. And Bolduc goes on to become the player that we're seeing right now, which at a minimum is a good player. And you end up getting a guy that is nothing more than an AHL defenseman who had potential to be something better than that, but never reached that potential. That, at least, we have to acknowledge it's possible that's where this is heading. I don't think it will, but it's possible that it does. And if that ends up being the case, man, it's a whiff. And it's the kind of move that can knock you off your kilter a little bit, because you might have missed a potential window here this season with your goalie, who we all agree is a big part of why they're a contender right now, still in his prime. Braden Shin, still at least the back end of his prime. You should see right now the window of the prime starting for Kyrou and Thomas, and Buch is still, we think, maybe, possibly, in his prime. Pareko's still in his prime today. Like, there should be a window that exists today for the Blues. And if you gave up some of that for potential, I think it's fair to at least have some scrutiny for it.
Oh, yeah.
While also acknowledging I would have done it. I would have made this move. I think it was smart.
It's absolutely fair to be critical of it because of what you're seeing right now and how they ended last year. I would say this, too. In the hypothetical world, Bolduc was still here, you'd be approaching the trade deadline and probably be saying, well, we need help on that third pair because our top 4 guys are gassed and our defense is bad with Kessel and Tucker. The number 1 trade chip you're going to have on your team that other people would want is probably Zack Bolduc. So you're in the exact same situation where they want one of your wingers, and you're approaching it as if, okay, well, we've got Neighbors, you've got Bolduc, and you've got Snuggerud. And then you're going into the minor league system, and I don't know if that's valued as much as the NHL. So, I still think you were going to get to what happened in the offseason trade. You were going to get to that point at some way or another. It's just you pounced on it in the offseason rather than waiting to see. Because it would have stung a lot worse if you traded Bolduc at the deadline and he had 25 goals, which I don't think you probably would have, but you see where I'm going at with this.
I think it was Bolduc or Neighbors were the guys that it seems like most teams were most interested in that could have potentially gone elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think it was smart to keep Jake Neighbors here. He's a core player. He's been playing great so far this season. If he was doing this elsewhere, we would also be criticizing the Blues.
Any Blue doing this elsewhere, we'd be criticizing the Blues for.
He's a heart and soul type of player. He plays with physicality. He brings so many different elements to this team. He's somebody that I could see as the future captain of the Blues. And I don't think it should be a shock to anybody if that ends up being the case. So I'm cool with them keeping Neighbors. And I, again, thought it was the right move at the time. But for those of you wondering, are we going to consistently talk about this Zack Bolduc trade? Probably not to this degree. A, because I'm not sure that he's going to score every night the way that he has so far. But B, because, eventually we're going to actually get into the heart of the Blue season and there's going to be more to discuss there. But it's going to be a backdrop to basically every conversation that happens with the Blues because of how significant of a move it was for them. We always make the comparison because it's, cross-sport locally. That move that the Cardinals made of Randy Arozarena for Matthew Liberatore was very similar. This doesn't have to go as poorly as that move did, but it was a futures player at a position of need in Matthew Liberatore that they decided to acquire, and they were giving up something that was ready to help them right now, but they felt as though they had a lot of it in their outfield. They picked wrong. They picked the wrong player to trade, and they picked the wrong player to get in return, potentially. Yeah,
but the hole in your argument is the Cardinals don't know how to evaluate their own talent, and I think the Blues do know how to.
Totally fair, and that may end up being the way that we look back on this trade. It's why I give them the benefit of the doubt and why I'm glad they made this move. It doesn't mean every move works. They got it wrong with their defensive core previously, where they traded for, or they went out and signed Torrey Krug. I don't know that it's necessarily worked to a great degree with Justin Falk here in St. Louis. He's been fine. I don't think he's the player that they wanted him to be when they traded him for him, though. So I would say the contract for Nick Leddy didn't work out super well. The trade was good. The contract extension and what he has been since then, not so great. So if there's a position where there are some potential blinders for the Blues, letting Vince Dunn go, letting Nico Mikkola go, there's been some misses, certainly more so on the defensive core side of things than on the forwards.
I'll defend my team a little bit there, though, because I think they tried everything they could with Mikkola. I mean, Mikkola was playing top pair minutes with Parayko before he was traded, and it just did not look good. Vince Dunn
I hear you, but if the Cardinals made these same moves and they had players that walked out that were better than the players that were here, we would be critical of them, so I've got to keep the same energy.
Sure, but the difference is Arozarena never got the chance to play. It's a very small sample size. They did it with Mikkola, and they did it with Dunn. They said, it's not going to work here. And Dunn was vocal about, hey, I needed this trade to happen for me to make my game.
Agreed.
Now, if you want to go the Jake Wallman route, I guess we can have an argument there. But
it's a lot of, the defensive thing is the one real criticism that's fair of the Blues. It's the one criticism that I think is fair.
It's where it will get tough on Mailloux. Now, we're years from this happening, but why they gave up on the Mikkola experiments, yes, they tried it. We also have admitted, and Jeff Marek mentioned it in our interview, it takes time for defensemen to develop.
300 games, and Mikkola's just at 336.
Yeah, so they gave up on the experiment of Mikkola probably a little soon, if they were being honest and on truth serum. How long will they give Mailloux, and how much patience will they have? And especially if Bolduc just becomes a consistent 25-goal scorer in Montreal, because then that trade continues to age worse. And as he gets closer and closer to RFA and free agency, oh boy, will you be really sitting on pins and needles?
Because to wrap it all up, you don't have 300 games to get Mailloux to that level. Exactly. You need him to get there at about 100, 150 to at least. You need him to at least be a third pair consistent defenseman by 100, 150 games. You don't need him to be a top four. You need him to be somewhat what Mikkola was before they decided to move on. The problem was Mikkola was, we need you to be a top pair defenseman because Falk and Leddy aren't it. And it didn't work out because they still needed some time there.
From J. Nick, BK, this is terrible to listen to with the Blues talk. From the 314, Ferrario, shut up, you're a Blues apologist. So I guess we got both sides' perspectives.
Say it with me, text like, Bolduc, Bolduc, Bolduc.
Coming up next, time for the Junk Drawer here on 101 ESPN. All right, I found another stupid test for us, Alex.
You going stupid text?
Stupid test.
Oh, I was going to say, because I saw the stupid text too.
Oh, did we get somebody that hurt your feelings?
No, not hurt my feelings.
What
Just
happened?
made a really dumb comment.
What'd they say?
4 extra goals would make much of a different result at this point.
Someone called me teen dots, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, those 4 extra goals wouldn't have won the game against the LA Kings. Probably
They scored 16 totals. Yes, 4 goals would make a difference.
Probably swayed the direction in one of the Minnesota Wild or the Blackhawks games. But yeah, no, 4 goals wouldn't have made a difference.
So my stupid test for you is going to Venice and using Google Maps. Because somebody on Instagram...
Venice, Illinois?
No, Venice, Italy. Somebody on Instagram did a video where they were like following their Google map and they kept following it and ended up in water, right? They're like, oh, be careful while you're in Venice. Yeah, you
Did they forget there was
moron.
water?
It is the city of water. Like, you literally travel around in a boat more often than not. So that's the stupid test here.
It's like the Michael Scott episode in The Office where the GPS tells you to turn here. Michael, this is a lake. It's telling me to turn.
So the reason that I bring that up, the other stupid test is gambling as a professional athlete. As we opened up with today.
Oh, we're back to this now.
If you're a professional athlete and you're gambling after what you saw today, you're a moron. You're just an idiot. How do you think that you're not going to get caught? After everything that we've seen over the last couple of years with Jonte Porter and the NBA, we saw this in Major League Baseball. All these guys are accused with Emmanuel Clase and the situation there, or you go over to the NFL and the guys that allegedly bet while they were inside of their team facilities. At some point, if you're a player, you've got to get it like drilled into your head, right? Hey, this is probably not worth it for me to mess up my $100 million contract.
I would think it'd be brought up when you have the rookie media training, because don't all rookies go through that? At least at the NFL. I assume they do it at all pro leagues, but I would think it's like part of the PowerPoint presentation. I don't think they skipped that one. You know, hey, if you gamble on sports, A, you're going to be suspended. B, if you are gambling on the sport you are playing and potentially throwing games, you will be suspended indefinitely for life. I would think that would stand out, and it's like in big, bold letters probably.
And the money that you're getting from betting on it, or your buddies
Yeah.
betting on it, is so slim, so small compared to the amount of money that you can play by just, participating in the NBA. Just being on a roster.
I mean, I don't know, man, unless it's a part of a big parlay that you got all the inside scoops on,
Just
that
absolutely
10-legger.
ridiculous.
Trailblazers canceled their media availability today.
Yeah, I
What?
wonder why.
I wonder
Dude, can you,
why.
I want to hear from their new
the
coach.
messaging? Can
Well,
you
how
imagine
about-
being in the PR
I was
today?
just going to say,
gosh.
how about being the
Trailblazers.
public relations guy for that? Oh, honey, I'm not going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
We had the exact same
And that would have been an early, because I don't know what
Yeah.
time the arrest were made, but the notification I got on my phone was at like 7:30 this morning. That's 5:30 out west.
Yeah, and it's your head basketball coach.
Yeah.
Who has been accused of being a part of these corrupt poker games. Like, his isn't even basketball related necessarily.
This is way out of left field.
It's just absolutely insanity. All right, that's what we've got for you guys today. I liken it to when it used to be illegal for players, Alex. They couldn't smoke marijuana, and so you would go to the NFL Combine. Everybody knows, hey, you're going to have a drug test there for like 30 to 60 days beforehand. Please don't smoke marijuana.
And then
Just
Laramie
please don't
Tunzel
smoke
posts a
marijuana.
picture out on draft night.
Yeah, but there's some guys that fail the drug test while they're at the NFL Combine. It's just a stupid test. Just don't. The day after the Combine, you can smoke marijuana.
What's funny about that
Just
is
stop.
the coaches and the GMs and the owners, the ones that are making the decisions on draft night, they're treating that as a stupid test as well. And man, you guys keep failing it.
Exactly. Just don't do it for the 30 to 60 days before the NFL Combine. That's all we're asking here. And if you can't do that, you might have bigger issues. All right, coming up next, how many Cardinals players would make the list of the top 20 in this year's World Series? We're going to get into it next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. T-Bone's upset with us, Alex.
T-Bone getting a little cranky over here.
We mentioned, probably not gonna be here on on Christmas Eve, and T-Bone's like, whoa, I'm part of management now. You guys will be here.
I'm working.
All right, man.
I don't have to deal with this
I just found out I got to do a sleep study with my daughter on the 23rd, so we're gonna have a best of
And
on Christmas.
I just brought up how, okay, well, that's not a discretionary holiday. It's actually the Friday, the 26th. I was just trying to help be informative
we said,
for you.
Then we can do a best of that day. And T-Bone was like, I don't know.
It's discretionary.
BK brought it up because he doesn't have to make the best of, you know?
Well, that's true.
Some of us are going to make 3
for
of
5
them.
years while I was producing.
We did an
Well, I'm about at 5
We did a
years.
segment with Hein Bloom. You're already set to go. You've already got one segment in the books, my
I mean,
man.
you have another
personally
choice.
care.
You can come in and do the show if you
Oh,
want.
now he's getting
okay, hold on.
hit the dog.
There we go.
I don't have to deal with this anymore. I can turn his mic off if I
If
want.
you want to complain about doing a best of, that's cool, man. I've got a solution. You can just do the show. It's your call. You get to choose one way or the other. You can either do the best of.
It's getting Tony in here right
you
now.
can do the show.
I know.
It's your call.
It's getting
I was
Tony.
just trying to be helpful to inform you. That's all I was doing.
Well, you weren't helpful. All right, let's get into this.
Just unbelievable.
ESPN.com put together.
And we got Beat the Blues coming up next segment, by the way. So
I was
why don't you
supposed to-
tease
I
that
was
like you were
supposed to
supposed to?
Yeah, no, that's fair. Coming up in 10 minutes.
I think I just broke my headset.
We'll play a game of Can You Beat the Blues? It's a very simple game. You'll go up against a Blues player. T-Bone, who do we have today?
We have got Puce Suter will be our contest today.
Hugh Suter, by the way, who sneakily a little funny. Got some.
Oh, yeah.
Got some good humor to him. It's very dry, though. I enjoyed our conversation with Puce Suter. Beat the Blues coming up next. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. If you want to go up against Puce Suter today for a chance to win a signed hockey puck and a pair of tickets to see the St. Louis Blues, you're going up against Puce Suter today. We'll do that coming up here in about 10 minutes. All you have to do, text in I Can Beat the Blues to 314-399-9646, and we will have our contestants in a little less than 10 minutes. All right, Alex. So ESPN.com had their ranking. Is that all I needed to do there, T-Bone?
Yeah. Now you're good.
ESPN.com had their ranking of the 20 best players in this year's World Series. And I was curious where the best Cardinals would rank on this list.
None.
Or, as a related question, how many Cardinals would make this list?
Also, none.
So let's go ahead.
This is assuming that they got to the World Series, right? So, like, assuming they made it to the World Series.
So we're going to slot in Cardinals players as part of this list.
Okay.
So, like,
I haven't been here since 2013.
If these players were on one of these two teams, they would also be on the list. That kind of thing, right?
Okay.
So, number one, Shohei Ohtani. Do the Cardinals have anybody that matches up with Shohei Ohtani in terms of their quality? Anybody that
I've
you
been
guys will
told
throw in the
Mason
mix?
Wynn was a pitcher in the minors. So, Mason?
No. I'm going to say no.
So
on this
probably.
one.
Vladimir Guerrero
No.
Jr., no. George Springer.
Can you just
did not
can
have
we
anybody
just
there.
fast forward to like 19 and 20 on this
I'll
list?
just continue along. Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Could have had him if the Cardinals
Blake
would have forked
Snell,
the money over
Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. That's a lot of Dodgers at the top of this list.
and wonder why we hate the Dodgers.
Alejandro Kirk. I remember talking about him as a trade candidate for the Cardinals. They decided to go
They
in
got
a
Wilson
different direction
Contreras.
that offseason. Got Wilson Contreras, who's now
signed an
playing first
outfielder.
base for you. And after like
and a
5
first baseman.
games, they decided they didn't want him to be behind the plate anymore. I digress. Max Muncy, Tyler Glasnow, Will Smith. We are at 11 right now. Have you heard anybody that you're like, the best Cardinals player is better than that guy?
Can you get to the honorable mentions part of this list?
He was like 25 to 30.
Ernie Clement.
I didn't know Ernie Clement until I watched some Blue Jays games in the postseason, but he's pretty awesome, so I'll say no.
This seems aggressive to me.
Oh, come on, dude.
I mean, he had a 710 OPS this season. He was worth 4 wins because he's a good defender and he's athletic, but I think you could make a pretty strong argument. Brendan Donovan,
He's also
Wilson
hitting
Contreras.
429 in the postseason with an over 1,000 OPS.
He's been great so far in the postseason, no doubt about it. But I think you could make a case. We're talking about a 10-game sample size here. I think you can make a case at that spot for one of the Cardinals players to be ranked ahead of Ernie Clement. Dalton Varsho.
Turton vote.
What's happening over there?
Varsho is next up, and then Kevin Gossman, Tommy Edman, Cardinals could be in.
Well, the Cardinals did have Tommy Edman.
Tommy Edman. Trey Yasevich, I think he's too low on this list. I
agree. I think Osman's too low on this list.
Yeah. Bo Bichette is at 17. And then
who hasn't played at all in the postseason.
Yeah. Down the stretch here, you've got Andy Pages and Teoscar Hernandez. How many Cardinals do you think would be on that list? I think Wilson Contreras belongs. I think Brendan Donovan belongs. I think Ivan Herrera belongs. Do you guys think Alec Burleson would make that list that we were just talking about there?
Burleson's got a lot of Ernie Clement in him to where he's really good. He's good in the regular season, really good in the postseason. Like, he's got a little bit of Cardinals devil magic in him. I think those are all fair because if I'm imagining in this fun world that we're living in that the Cardinals are good enough to get to the World Series, those would be the guys that are carrying you there. I guess if you're getting to that point, Sonny Gray might be in this conversation because he's still your number one and you're still leaning on him. And I would imagine he's performing well for you. So I would be safe with those three position players in Sonny Gray.
So your position players were Donnie,
Contreras, and Herrera.
Burleson? I think Burleson belongs at the back half of this list. Like Addison Berger, Teoscar Hernandez, Tommy Edman, Dalton Varsho. I think he's Ernie Clement. I think he's in that range of position player personally, given what he was able to do offensively this year. Do you guys think that's a fair way to frame it?
Yeah, I think Burley, for me, it would be Burley, Contreras, and that would probably be the end of the position players for me.
Not Donovan or Herrera compared to those back half of the list guys that I was just talking about.
No, because I would slide Sonny Gray into this. I think there's only 3 Cardinals that you can make an argument for that would slide into this top 20 in terms of these players that are listed in this World Series. And the reason that I don't put Donovan up there is he did fall off in the second half. Now, it's explainable, right? Like, I'm not trying to say, like, oh, he just couldn't hit. No, he was injured, but he did fall off in the second half. And the reason I don't put Herrera up there is he just doesn't have any defensive value. Like, he doesn't bring anything to the table defensively. And I know someone would say, well, Tani's just a DH. Yeah, but that guy pitches too. So I think there's just 3. I think it'd be Burleson for his bat, his contact skill. I think it would be Wilson Contreras. I think he probably fits into what you were saying about Teoscar Hernandez. And then Sonny Gray would move his way up here because he's got good enough stuff. That would be the end of the list for me, the Cardinals. That would be in the top 20.
I would have 4 or 5 Cardinals that I think are position players that are worthy of being on this list. I would go Donnie, Herrera, Burleson, Contreras as definites. And I think Mason Wynn you could make a pretty good case for as well because of his defensive value that he brings to the table, and he's a slightly below average hitter. Like, if Tommy Edman's going to be on this list, I think Mason Wynn's a better player than Tommy Edman. Just flat out. If you just replace Tommy Edman on the Dodgers with Mason Wynn, I think Wynn is a better player for them.
Man, this list you're putting together, I don't know why the Cardinals didn't make the World Series.
Because they don't have the guys that go up against Shohei, Vlad Guerrero Jr., George Springer, Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Kirk, Muncy, Glasnow, Smith. That top 11 that's participating in this game, Cardinals can't go head-to-head with that.
They did,
That's what they're missing.
They had it in Arenado and Goldschmidt, and they didn't perform.
But at that time, they didn't have the supplemental talent that we're talking about right now. And they didn't have the pitching.
I was like, really? They didn't have the pitching? I think supplemental talent, they were okay.
I mean, they had 22. Donovan in 22.
Newpar was there in 22.
Was there.
He was playing well.
Yeah, Juan Yepes was a solid complimentary piece in 2022. Like, they had
pitching
some of those.
Well,
yeah, pitching was a major
Yepes was the only one that provided offense on that team.
1 home run.
Remember the year prior they didn't put him on the roster?
So cool. That was such
didn't they put him on the roster for 21?
No, then he didn't make the roster for the wild card game.
I thought they put him on the wild card game, and then they didn't use him.
Is that what it was?
They
were
put him
supposed to pinch hit Waino.
Yeah, and they left him.
Yepes. They decided not to pinch hit for Waino, and then in the next inning they pulled Waino, which was
really got under BK's skin.
That
Mike Schilt move really bothered him.
And then they brought in what's his face, the closer at the time. Why am I blanking on his name? Yeah, Alex Reyes.
Well, from what we know,
you knew what was coming. Chris Taylor, boom.
Well, from what we know now,
that was the last good Chris Taylor moment.
From what we know now, there was some internal people that weren't probably agreeing with that move by Mike Schilt.
Yeah, touche.
And then they got yelled at
to be able to find it out. All right, coming up next, we're going to play a game of Beat the Blues here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Let's play a game of Beat the Blues. If you're new to this, you haven't heard it before, we do it each and every week here on BK and Ferrario, and our contestants will have a chance to win a signed puck by a Blues player and get a pair of tickets to see the Blues play. We do it every single week. It's a simple game, Alex. We will ask the contestant that goes up against a Blues player that week to name as many different things as they can within a category in 15 seconds. And then we will hear how many things in that same category the Blues player was able to name. We did this at Media Day earlier this year. And we'll do a margin of victory. So if you're able to beat the player, you end up potentially having the chance to win a pair of tickets and the signed hockey puck. It's a very simple game. It's a lot of fun. We will go through these with 3 different contestants today. We've got Andrew, JD, and Tom joining us here on the show. We begin with Andrew. Andrew, we appreciate you being a part of the show, man. How you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing really well. Do you understand the rules of the game, Andrew?
Yes, sir.
All right, Andrew. Today you're going up against Puce Suter for a pair of tickets to Canucks versus the Blues and a signed puck by Puce Suter. Your category today, Andrew, name as many flavors of ice cream as you can in 15 seconds. Flavors of ice cream. On your mark, get set, go.
Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, coffee, butterfinger, cookies and cream, cookie dough, M&M, Oreo, peanut butter cup, Reese's, Snickers, Neapolitan, sherbet.
Are we gonna consider Reese's peanut butter cup and what was the other? He said
peanut butter cup and then Reese's.
Yeah.
I considered that to be one.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay.
So
I went with 11.
I had 11 then too. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure.
Performance.
Andrew kept going too. He's like, I'm in the mode. You can't stop me here.
He just started naming candy. He switched the category from flavors of ice cream to candy bars, and I respect it because it works for both.
You always notice that light bulb that goes off when they're listing them off. It's like, oh, I could do that. Okay, now start listing off this food.
All right, so Andrew finished with
start, Andrew.
11. Let's see if Puce Suter is an ice cream guy.
Yogurt, stracciatella, chocolate, strawberry, raspberry, blueberries, mint, caramel.
What was the first one he said?
Yogurt.
Go back to it.
Yogurt.
Yogurt.
Or yogurt?
Yogurt.
Is yogurt an ice cream flavor?
Sure.
No, not sure. It's not an ice cream flavor.
I mean, frozen yogurt.
That's
would be
not an
considered.
ice cream flavor.
That's fair.
So then I got
Let's
7.
take one off. I got
7, right?
7.
Also,
I got
very
7.
What was the third one that he went with?
Something.
Yogurt, stracciatella, chocolate, strawberry.
Stracciatella. I don't know what that
I'm not
is.
familiar
I think
with
it's like
that.
an Italian kind of ice
Also,
cream.
did you see the differences between Puce's and Andrew's, where Andrew was listing off all the candy flavors and Puce is going fruit flavor, blueberry, raspberry, strawberry? All right, so 7 for Puce. That's a +4. That's a good start, Andrew.
This is an ice cream from Italy.
See, I thought it was.
It is a variety of gelato with fine strands of drizzled chocolate stirred throughout. That sounds fantastic.
That's a word that I'm just not a fan of, drizzled. There's a couple of other words that just make me uncomfortable, and drizzled is one of them.
It was inspired by soup made with broth that had been beaten in which beaten eggs is drizzled, popular around Rome. Let's get a little more drizzle in there for
You're
you,
very
Alex.
nah. Come on, man.
So there we go. All right, so that's a +4 for Andrew in the first round. It's a nice opening performance.
That's a
Alex.
really
In
good. I
the
think
leadoff
last
spot.
week their first 2 went minuses, so it's either a bad showing of Puce or a great showing of Andrew. You be the judge.
Let's get to JD, who's going up against Puce Suter today. JD, we appreciate you being a part of the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Greetings, gentlemen.
Greetings,
to you as well.
salutations.
Salutations.
There it is. JD listens to the show.
All right, JD, you are going up against Puce Suter. Do you understand the rules of the game?
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. Your category for today, you'll have 15 seconds to name as many different fruits as you can. Name as many fruits as you can in 15 seconds. On your mark, get set, go.
Grapes, apples, oranges, bananas, strawberries, peaches, pears, pineapples, watermelon, mangoes, limes, lemons, tangerines, oranges, kiwi,
Way to go, JD. I got 14 from him there.
I got 14 as well. He didn't say oranges before,
No,
right?
oranges was after the buzzer.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
I got 14.
I got
14 for JD. That's a
JD.
hell of a number for our guy.
That's impressive. All right.
All
Big
right.
showing.
I don't really
Let's
know my
hear
fruits.
No, obviously.
from...
You're the one going to the gym, my guy.
You were supposed to be there too, man.
Let's hear from Puce Suter.
All right. Tomato, raspberry, strawberry, blueberries, blackberries, melon, watermelon, honey melon.
And that's it.
Puce just checks out in the last 3 seconds. He's like, no, we're done. This is, by the way, where we got a really nifty, dry sense of humor from Puce. Told us that tomatoes are fruits, and then he walked out of the room and he was like, knowledge is, or how did he frame it? Said something like, knowledge is knowing
That tomato is a fruit.
Yeah, something
And
like
wisdom is knowing that tomatoes don't go in fruit salad.
that. That's what
and then he
I
just
think.
walked out of the room. I'm like, my God, Puce is amazing.
All right, so that is a nice +6 for JD. So, Andrew, appreciate you playing today, buddy, but you have officially been eliminated.
Salutations, Andrew.
JD is now our leader in the clubhouse with Tom finishing things out for us today, going up against Puce Suter. Tom, appreciate you being a part of the show, man. How you doing?
Great. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Do you understand the rules of the game, Tom?
Yes, sir.
All right, Tom, you are going up against Puce Suter today. Your category, name as many pizza toppings as you can in 15 seconds. Pizza toppings in 15 seconds. On your mark, get set, go.
Pepperoni, anchovy, pineapple, cheese, triple cheese, peanut, dude.
Did you want to say peanut butter there, Tom? Yeah, you did, didn't you, Tom? I heard it.
He went to peanut butter and then he just blanked. He's like, I know no other pizza toppings other than peanut butter right
Also,
now.
I'm deducting a point for pineapple, so you don't get that one.
Oh, stop. He got 5.
It's not a pie. It's not a pizza topping.
Pineapple is one of the best pizza toppings. I don't care what you say.
You have Italian
and
background.
Provel has no business being on
You
pizza.
have Italian background. If you ask an Italian if pineapple should be on pizza, they would hurt you.
I just said that it does. I'm Italian.
No, you're not.
Alex, the number of people in the YouTube chat today that have asked if we're brothers, I think it speaks to the fact
one
that
of
we
us
are...
needs to change our hairstyle because both of us say we have the exact same hair.
It's also both of us growing out the beard at the same time, which is
almost
not
the same.
helping.
Yeah,
it's not helping.
Also, Tom, thank you for the punishment for next year in BK and Ferrario. Somebody's going to eat a peanut butter and pineapple pizza.
Oh,
I would be
That's
happy
awesome.
to eat that.
Yeah. There you
That's
go.
awesome.
So you can't use that challenge for me. All right, just so we know, JD's winning because Tom got 5. So there's no way for Tom to win this one. So congratulations.
I mean, he's
up
not
front
wrong.
To JD, who had a +6 T-bone, and the math doesn't work there.
Unless Puce says pineapple
Tom
and
to win it.
Well, no, but
I see what he's saying now. Yeah, I guess Puce
There's a
can't win.
+6 on the board.
Yeah.
Tom got 5 correct.
Why don't we just, Puce took the time
why
out of his
don't you
day.
say it after it's done, man?
Why don't you, build this up a little bit?
Now Tom's going to hang up.
Congratulations to JD.
Tom, we love you, buddy. You and your peanut butter could
Way to
have
go,
won.
JD.
Tom, if you would have said
you.
peanut butter, we probably would have allowed it.
All right, let's hear how Puce Suter does with his pizza toppings, though.
Oregano, cheese, mozzarella, tomato sauce, pineapple, ham, salami, mushrooms, pepperoni.
All right, yeah, you would have lost anyway, Tom.
He did say 2 different kinds of cheese, so we might have had a back and forth there. Doesn't matter either way. Congratulations to JD for winning Beat the Blues today.
Woo, JD.
He also said tomato sauce. I don't think that's technically a topping. I think that's just
Is it on
something
top
that
of a
comes
pizza?
standard. Okay.
Is it on top of a pizza?
Is it listed under toppings or is it listed under sauce?
You're right. It should be listed under toppings.
Hey, if he would have said peanut butter, I probably would have allowed it because, man, whatever you're into.
All right, JD's our winner today. He's
Way to go,
going home
JD.
with a pair of tickets to see the Blues versus the Canucks and a signed puck by Puce Suter. JD, stay on the line. We'll go ahead and get your information. If you guys want to be a part of Beat the Blues, you can do so next week. Don't forget, you've got an opportunity each and every week here on BK and Ferrario.
Did you see this text that somebody sent in a little bit ago?
No.
They just said Tanner to Brandon in the break, and it was a picture of a goat just ramming his head into a little kid. I did see it earlier, and you're right, Texter. Actually, T-Bone did rhino BK in that commercial break.
Careful. Coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues back in action tonight as the Utah Mammoth travel here to St. Louis. We'll have pregame coverage tonight starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario, then puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer. Sing it, boys. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
Free, flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
Believe it or not, it's just me.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are believing it or not. Here on 101 ESPN.
This bad thought off of my conscience. I'm not going to lie. After BK was yelling at me earlier in the show, I almost potted the music completely down during his moment there. Ooh. But I enjoy the segment too much that I just couldn't do it.
I actually would have loved to see his reaction when you did that.
He probably would have yelled at me in the break again.
Yeah.
What are you doing to me?
Yeah, but he's afraid to do that, man, because of the rhino possibility. You just never know with you, man.
That is an accurate portrayal of where I'm at. All right, guys, believe it or not, the LA Chargers are still the second best team in the AFC West. LA Chargers back in action this evening. They will be taking on the Minnesota Vikings at home. Chargers are a 3.5-point favorite in that one. Believe it or not, the Chargers are the second best team in the AFC West.
I'm going to say believe it because when they get healthy, they're better than the Broncos because their quarterback is better. I don't believe in Bo Picks. I think defensively, Denver is significantly better, but as an all-around team, I would say believe it. But I don't know if the Chargers are ever going to be healthy fully.
I'm going to say not believe it. I'm going to say Denver is slightly a better football team, and I don't feel great in saying that because I don't trust Bo Picks like you. Chargers just feel off, and maybe it is just the injuries are the thing that's doing it. Even Herbert, though, at times has not looked great, and I get it. He's not getting as much time because of the O-line injuries. There's times where he's been protected well, and he's still not making the throw that he needs to. So I'm going to say not believe it. I think it is the Broncos are the second best team.
I'm with T-Bone. I think the Broncos defense is still potentially elite enough. The Giants game was weird. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. Maybe the Giants offense is just that good, but I'm going to side with the fact that the Broncos are the second best team in the AFC West, and the Chargers will fall into third in the AFC West. Alex, what do you have for us today?
Jay Bright over on our YouTube channel. Isn't it Bo Nix? No, Jay, it's Bo Picks. But guys, believe it or not, at the end of the season, Pavel Buchnevich will have scored north of 25 goals.
I'll say believe it. If you would have said 30, I would have said no, but for 25, I'll believe it.
What did he finish with last year?
I think it was 24, 26 Are you not checking it?
No, I am.
20.
I am. He had
Finished
20.
120 last year.
I say I feel like he did not have 25 last year.
He got hot towards the end.
His Blues career, 30, 26, 27, and 20.
I'm not gonna,
some of that 20 was because of Bannister putting him as a center.
We don't have to blame Drew. I'm going to say not believe it. I don't know that he will get back to being a 25-plus goal scorer. I'm not sure I see that in him anymore.
I'm going to believe it. He's a streaky guy. I don't think he goes higher than 25, though.
Guys, believe it or not, Dom from The Athletic
Dom
had a piece where he was kind of encouraging on Colton Parayko. You know, he's driving a lot of offense. He's put together a good stretch to where it's the same since back in 18-19. You know, the year we went to the Cup and won it all, the Blues did. Guys, believe it or not, we will see Colton Parayko get 30-plus points again this season.
Believe it. Once they get into a little bit of consistency with their pairs, I think you're going to see Parayko take off. Right now, there's just a lot of juggling around. They're going to get to a consistent point, so I'm going to believe this one. He just drives offense. That's why I didn't understand the whole thing earlier in the season when they were like, well, he's not in this tier because he doesn't drive offense. Like, did you watch him last season?
You said 30-plus?
Mm-hmm.
I'll say believe it just because he's on the ice for so much. And that's not really out of the norm with what he's been for his career. I think his career average is about 30.
Yeah.
Last year, what was different is he only played 64 games and he got to 36. That's a pace of like 45 or 50. Mm-hmm. So 30-plus, yes. If you asked, is he going to be like on a similar pace to last year, getting 40-plus, I would say no, I'm not believing that. But 30-plus, yeah.
I think he gets 40-plus this year. He shoots the puck. Like, this is what he didn't do before. He wouldn't shoot it. Now, it doesn't matter where he's at. He's teeing it up and he's putting it on net.
I would say believe it as well because BK mentioned he averages 33 points a year, and I think the issues that you saw the 2 years prior where it was 26, 27, didn't really have a stable offensive driver with him. Like Letty was the guy that was with him most of the time. Letty's been like one of the worst performers on the ice so far this season in San Jose. So I think that was a big reason why that happened.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are believing it or not here on BK and Ferrario. From 801, Alex, believe it or not, the Blues will trade for Rasmus Andersson before the trade deadline. We talked about this before the show.
Not. You know who they're trading for, boys? The Mongoon, Jamie Alexiak.
We're back.
Just watch for it. Played with Monty in Dallas.
Time is a flat circle.
He's a UFA after this season. He's 6'7", plays the left side. Book it for the trade deadline. Alexiak and Mayu will be the pair for the rest of the season. I'll be 2 years ahead of time.
I would not believe it because I think that would be a push more towards all in. You'd have to give up a haul for him. I think if they're doing anything, they're doing smaller quote unquote moves. Alexiak would be that.
I don't think it's a haul. I think it's a prospect and a second round pick
for
Alexiak.
Oh no, not for Alexiak.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He would be a haul. Alexiak, I agree. That I think they would be willing to do a second round and a prospect.
Yeah, and I think Anderson, if I remember the report, I think he said, I want to go to Vegas. So, if I'm going to be traded, the only place I'm going to sign an extension is in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm not believing this either. I think that's just too much. Rasmus Andersson is a very good player. He's going to be one of the top defensemen available. Those guys get a big return.
Yeah.
Talking about a second or a first-round pick, potentially. So, yeah, I'm not believing that. I think they're going to aim lower if they end up getting that kind of...
Want my tinfoil? Alexiak and Jaden Schwartz, a package deal that the Blues make at the deadline.
I'm in.
They use all the Torrey Krug LTIR space. You get two guys that are UFAs. Seattle will be out of it. Watch for it.
Believe it or not, Victor Wembanyama. Wemby will get a 40-point, 25 rebound game at some point this year. Did you guys see what he did last night?
Wasn't that last night?
40 points, 15 rebounds.
Oh, so he didn't
only
get 20?
Played 30 minutes. They were up by 30 in the fourth quarter, so he barely played. Yeah, I'll believe this. I think he's going to have a monster season. We're on Victor Wembanyama MVP season watch this year.
I turned it on last night as we were getting ready for bed night. Katie gets into bed and she goes, my God, that guy just keeps going. And I said, yeah, he's like 7'2", 7'3"?
I think he's
7'4".
I think he quote unquote grew over the offseason.
Katie's like, his neck is stretched out. I'm like, yeah, he's a pretty big dude. I'm going to believe this one.
And also incredibly athletic. Moves like a guard and can
shoot the ball well, too.
It's crazy.
I mean, imagine trying to defend that jump shot. It's impossible.
You can't.
He just goes over you. Yeah.
He's Kevin Durant, but with great post moves and an unbelievable defender. Nobody can move him inside. That's the craziest part.
Yeah, I'm with you on the MVP. I think he has MVP season.
I would believe he could go 40-25. I mean, he
for sure
just stand on his tippy toes and reach over the point guard if they're in the box going for a rebound. So yeah, I would believe it.
Coming up next,
I'm sure it's too tight for me to lift my arms above my head.
We're gonna hit the rewind here on 101 ESPN. Alex, the NBA is back. Got a couple of games tonight on national TV. Thunder versus the Pacers and Nuggets versus Warriors. You know this means it's time for me to open up the Underdog app. Check out what kind of promos they have to offer. I've got a 40% profit boost for today, and I'm going to use that. For Pascal Siakam, I'm going higher on his 20.5 points for tonight, and I've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander higher than 6.5 assists. Put that together, 3-1 odds over there on the Underdog app.
Throw 3 more onto it, BK, then flex it. You only need 4 of the 5 and you're still winning money. It all comes down to the fun that you have over on that Underdog app, and they make it so easy to use. So download Underdog today and use promo code BKO to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. Again, promo code BKO. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. If you guys missed anything from today's show, check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
That 101 ESPN app, it is free to download, super easy to use. It's sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. It's 150 your time check, brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Alex, we started out the show today by talking about all of the updates in the sports gambling ring / poker stuff that's going on. If you want our full thoughts on that story, again, go check it out on the podcast page. We opened up the show with that. We don't have the time to expand on it too much here, but there's also some good stuff that's being interesting stuff that's being released from the indictment over on Twitter today. One of which includes a co-conspirator who was an NBA player who played around 2004, from 97 to 2014, and then was a coach since at least 2021. On or about March 24th, 2023, the Portland Trailblazers played against the Chicago Bulls, and prior to that game, the Blazers were 32-40. The team was out of contention with 10 games remaining. Prior to that game, this co-conspirator told one of the defendants that the Trailblazers were going to be tanking the rest of the way, and then that co-conspirator was able to place a large bet on the opposition to win that game because information was released to him by this co-conspirator saying that their best players were all going to sit out to tank. If you read between the lines, the coach was the coach of the Blazers in 2023, who was this co-conspirator 8 who is not named in the indictment. So allegedly, some are saying this could have been somebody else that was involved in the other case, which had to do with poker and gambling. So,
tinfoil comes to life.
Not great when it comes to some of the stuff that is a part of the indictment. All right. Alex, I do want to get into the Blues. They're back in action this evening. They will be taking on the Utah Mammoth. You'll be able to hear full pregame coverage with Alex Ferrario starting at 6 o'clock. This one feels like it has added importance. Listen, it's the same as any other game. It's one game out of 82. It's game number 7. Still a lot of hockey to be played. But when your coach calls everybody out and completely juggles up the lines and the defenseman pairings, it feels like an important game for them to have a rebound and an answer in. What are you looking for here?
Very similar to how they played against the Dallas Stars. I think the Blues do respond, or at least have responded well this season when a game has looked poor, whether it was the Minnesota one going to Calgary. Now, that one wasn't so much the team as it was Joel Hofer, but then, of course, coming off of that Chicago beating to the Dallas Stars game. So I'm expecting some of that. I'm looking for Thomas and Buchnevich specifically. Like, if there's going to be two guys that I'm honed in on tonight, it's going to be those two. How do you perform? Because, look, let's be blunt about this. Keller and Schmaltz have just spanked the Blues every time that they've played them in the last couple of years. You've only got one win against the Central Division so far this year. It's your third game or fourth game against them. You've got to pile up points early on. So Utah is playing really good right now. They just beat Colorado. They've won 4 in a row. They've given you fits. So, yeah, I'm looking to see how good you are defensively and how much guys are willing to go to the front of the net and generate offense. And I do think Sundqvist is going to have an impact on that because he is playing tonight.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the line combinations look like. I'm curious about the Mayu situation. How often does he play with Cam Fowler? Is he going to get more playing time tonight because he's with Cam Fowler, or is this just a situation where it's almost a placeholder, where it's the top 5 that'll all be playing a bunch, and then Mayu will get an opportunity every once in a while where they'll pat him on the back and say, hey, go get him, kid. And when you're out there, you're going to be with your binky, who is Cam Fowler.
What's funny about it, too, is the Utah Mammoth have a guy that was drafted high. It was the kid that was drafted in the first round the year Dvorsky was picked, Dmitry Simishev. Young defenseman who has not been very good early on, but they just continue to throw him out there. He's playing the top line, or top pair with Mikhail Sergachev. So you're going to get another look at another young defenseman who's got high expectations that is put into an unappealing role early on.
On the NFL side of things, that is the Vikings at the Chargers tonight. The expectation is that it's going to once again be Carson Wentz starting for the Minnesota Vikings in this one. He is a little banged up as well going up against the Chargers. I like the Chargers. I'm actually a little surprised that it's only a 3.5-point line with them being at home, Thursday Night Football, Carson Wentz on the other side. Am I missing something here, boys, or do you guys like the Chargers as well?
I don't know, but whatever you're surprised by, I'm going with that. So Chargers.
You're going to take the Vikings plus 3.5.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't fully get why it's a 3.5-point line in favor of the Chargers, but I will take the Vikings in this one as well. I saw something earlier. Carson Wentz, I think it's 7-0 or 8-0 straight up on Thursday Night Football games in his career, and 7-1 against the spread. I am going to go with that.
You care about that? I'm genuinely asking. Like, does that matter?
Typically, no, but like I don't necessarily trust either team. So, like, if I don't trust either team, I'll go with, okay, for some reason, Carson Wentz apparently takes advantage of short weeks. So I can see where he ends up playing well tonight.
Aaron Jones is back, too, for Minnesota, if that matters to anybody.
That does matter to me a little bit.
And now you got Jones and Mason that you can work with. So maybe Wentz is not throwing the ball very much. So, again, I will go against what surprised you in terms of the line.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I also think it's tough to game plan for the Vikings defense, what they provide. So maybe there's something there as well.
Are you saying you think it should be more in favor of the Chargers?
Yeah, I think that the Chargers are the side that I prefer.
Vikings plus 3.5.
I will be picking them in the Fast Lanes Pick'em Challenge tonight. And if we were doing the Pick'em Challenge for us, I might include the Chargers as one of the teams for me. Because I just don't think that Carson Wentz is good.
Amen to that. But did you hear T-Bone's numbers?
Then again, I kind of agree. Carson Wentz is not very good, but for some reason he's good on Thursdays.
I think you can get rid of the not very part.
All right, so the NFL tonight, we'll react to that. We will certainly react to what the Blues do tonight. Tomorrow here on the show, we'll be broadcasting live from the E&B Granite Studios out at the Centene Community Ice Center. We'll have Mike McKenna, as we do each and every Friday. We'll do One's Gotta Go, or NFL Weekend Look Ahead. We've got a lot of previewing on the college football side of things as well. We've spent a decent amount of time on the Mizzou versus Vanderbilt game this week. We'll continue to do that tomorrow. I also want to get T-Bone's thoughts on this Illinois game against Washington. It's going a little under the radar. Huge game for the Illini. mean, an absolutely massive game could potentially eliminate them from playoff contention if they lose it.
It will.
And they're a pretty sizable underdog. So we'll get his thoughts going into that game tomorrow as well. For Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario back with you to tell you about my friends out at Ted Drew's. It's off of Chippewa. It's open daily, and it has been a St. Louis tradition since 1929. Whatever flavor